The night of genocide. Led Uchiha to defect to Konoha. Just kill me. Tsunade closed her eyes in humiliation. Uchiha Kaide chuckled, how could I bear to kill such a good collection of yours? Quote. Tsunade felt even more humiliated. Her majestic grandson of the first generation, the princess of the Fire Country, was actually treated as a collectible. Although this saved her from death, it made her feel more uncomfortable than killing her. Then Uchiha Kaide leaned into her ear and said, moreover, don't you want to see the fate of those old guys like Sarutobi Hiruzen? What do you want to do? Tsunade immediately turned her head and looked at Uchiha Kaide's side face in horror. Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, although I announced the dissolution of Konoha, it is still the place where I have lived for more than 10 years. And my people also want to return to their homeland. So, I had to grab it back again. Looking at Uchiha Kaide's smile, Tsunade felt like she had seen the devil. This guy actually wants to completely destroy Konoha. While frightened and angry, she also felt an endless sense of powerlessness in her heart. Even she was easily beaten by Kaide Uchiha, who only used taijutsu. Who in Konoha could stop him? Is Konoha really going to be destroyed by him? Lord Hokage. At this moment, rapid shouts came from. It was the ninjas of Konoha. They finally found out that their Hokage had been captured alive by the other side. Kaide Uchiha looked at Tsunade teasingly. Your men are quite loyal, much better than that old guy Sarutobi Hiruzen. Tsunade suddenly became frightened. She saw that Uchiha Kaide had murderous intentions. So she immediately turned around and roared, go quickly, you are no match for this guy. However, she underestimated her status in the hearts of these ninjas. They can die, but nothing can happen to Tsunade. Let go of Hokage-sama. A ninja threw out several kunai, but Uchiha Kaide raised his sword and easily shot them down. The leading Jonin shouted, use water to escape. A person next to him immediately formed a seal, water escape. Great water rushing waves. Suddenly, a large piece of water rushed towards Uchiha Kaide. The leader said secretly, I'm sorry, Hokage-sama. Then he quickly formed a seal and slapped it on the ground. Thunder escape. Earth walk. Lei Dun quickly entered the water, formed a compound ninja and then rushed towards Uchiha Kaide. As long as they meet Uchiha Kaide, they will definitely be paralyzed. Although Tsunade on the side would also be injured, she couldn't care less in order to save people immediately. Your subordinates are very smart and decisive. Uchiha Kaide praised. Then he grabbed Tsunade and jumped, and then he was suspended directly in the air. The leader was immediately annoyed, damn it, I forgot he can fly. Uchiha Kaide demonstrated his flying ability on the night he destroyed Konoha. But it only appeared for a moment, and they subconsciously ignored it. But now it has become a problem for them again. 6 Junin stood below, completely helpless against Uchiha Kaide in the air. However, this is not Uchiha Kaide on the run. Tsunade, who understood this, shouted again. Go quickly. Kaide Uchiha won't kill me easily. But the Jonin below are still hesitating. They couldn't bear the responsibility of leaving the Hokage behind and running away. Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, you shout like this, making me look like a villain. As he spoke, he raised his other hand and put it to his mouth. Immortal technique. Fire release. Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. In an instant, dozens of golden flames struck downwards. Can you release ninjutsu without using seals? Tsunade was shocked again. Then he looked anxiously at the Junin below. Those Jonin haven't realized the crisis yet, and they still want to use water escape to resist. A thick wall of water immediately enveloped them. Then the next second, the fireball and the water wall collided. Hung. In just an instant, the thick water wall was. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel directly penetrated. Then those fireballs exploded instantly. The blazing flames enveloped the surrounding area for tens of meters, and those Jonin were swallowed up by the flames before they had time to react. Alas, dealing with these miscellaneous fish is really no fun. Uchiha Kaide shook his head. A mere sea-level ninjutsu could solve these people. Tsunade looked at Kaide Uchiha angrily. Having killed so many people, don't you feel guilty in your heart? Uchiha Kaide suddenly looked at Tsunade in surprise. Did I hear correctly? As ninjas, isn't it our job to kill? Then he smiled and said, it seems that you have lost your head, then this war should be over. Ideographic period. Quote. Although Uchiha Kaide's fire escape gave his side a momentary advantage, what is the difference in numbers? Taki Ninja is not their Uchiha, and he doesn't have the ability to fight 1 against 2. On the battlefield in the distance, Konoha's ninjas relied on twice the numerical advantage to completely suppress Taki Ninja and his tribe. Uchiha Kaide carried Tsunade and flew directly to the center of the battlefield. At this time, some ninjas in Konoha discovered that their Hokage-sama had been captured alive. Fake, right, Hokage-sama lost. Lord Hokage was captured alive, what should we do? Damn it, it's this Uchiha Kaide again. Our opponent is Kaide Uchiha, there is no way we can win. At this moment, Konoha's ninjas remembered the fear of being dominated by Uchiha Kaide a few days ago. Suddenly, the Konoha troops were in chaos. Taki Ninja and the Uchiha tribe immediately took the opportunity to counterattack. Uchiha Kaide also raised his hand to his mouth. At this time, Tsunade took the opportunity to roar downwards. As Hokage, I order you to leave here immediately. After receiving the order, the Konoha ninjas suddenly no longer had the heart to resist. Everyone fled in panic. At this time, Uchiha Kaide's attack also came. A mortal technique. Fire escape. Great fire extinguishing. Chakra poured out as if it were moneyless, and the sea of fire that covered the sky for hundreds of meters fell straight towards Konoha. The power of this move is comparable to a natural disaster. The ninjas of Konoha suddenly became even more frightened. Where could they escape from this sea of fire that covered the sky and the sun? Some ninjas stopped and closed their eyes to prepare for death. Some ninjas refused to accept their fate and wanted to use ninjutsu to resist. But when the water escape hits the sea of fire, it instantly turns into steam. So they started to use earth escape again. Until the sea of fire comes to the ground. Boom. The vegetation on the ground instantly turned to ashes, and the earth and rocks began to make a gurgling sound as they were boiled. After a while, hundreds of meters in radius turned into a magma lake. Those who thought they were smart to use earth escape, reality gave them a hard blow at this moment. In the magma lake, no one can survive. In the end, including the previously defeated guards and a total of more than 1,200 Konoha ninja troops, only more than 400 people remained. Since the night when Konoha was destroyed, Konoha once again lost nearly 1,000 ninjas at the hands of Kaide Uchiha. In less than a week, 1/5 of Konoha ninja died at the hands of Uchiha Kaide. Is this the true power of Uchiha? A Konoha ninja fell to his knees in despair. Damn it! Is Konoha really going to play? At this moment, the morale of the Konoha ninjas was extremely low. Tsunade looked at this scene sadly, those were all her compatriots. She looked up at Uchiha Kaide angrily. Uchiha Kaide, I must make you pay the price. Uchiha Kaide smiled, really, it's a pity that you will change your mind soon. Ideographic period. Quote. With the enhanced version of the sacred tree in hand, Tsunade is already in his possession. When one day the Hokage of Konoha personally leads the army to destroy Konoha, this scene will be very interesting. Ellipsis. Lord Hokage was captured and most of the troops died instantly. The ninjas of Konoha had no time to grieve and began their escape journey. This time, the numbers on Uchiha Kaide's side suppressed them. The vigorous chase begins. Uchiha Kaide ignored the battle situation and took Tsunade back to Taki Ninja Village in an instant. If they had the numerical advantage and the Uchiha tribesmen were helping them, those people would still be defeated. That Taki Ninja is really useless at all. As for Konoha's reinforcements, haha, can Konoha still send out troops to deal with them? And the results of this war quickly spread to every corner of the ninja world. Tsunade lost. In Konoha, Kaharu and Mito Kaden were sitting in silence at home. Tsunade's failure means that no one can stop Uchiha Kaide anymore. They can go straight to Wonglong and fight directly to the entrance of Konoha village. Damn it, that was an army of thousands, and it was just gone. Xiaochen was extremely sad when she went to bed. She was not grieving for the ninjas, but grieving that her own status was about to be overturned. Then, she looked at Mito Menyon earnestly. How about we escape now? Mito Kodoyan smiled bitterly. Where can we escape to? Uchiha Kaide regards us as his mortal enemy. Once Konoha is destroyed, sooner or later we will be found by him and exterminated. After turning to bed, Kaharu said hurriedly, what about Hiruzen Danzo, Jiraiya and the others? Can they come back and resist Kaide Uchiha? Mito Kodoyan smiled bitterly and shook his head. They already had a hard time blocking those 3 ninja villages. There was another long silence. At this time, Mito Menyon seemed to think of something and closed his eyes in pain. Maybe that's the only way. Any solution? Xiaochen quickly grabbed the tail of hope when she went to bed. Mito Manabu made up his mind, leaned into Kaharu's ear and said seriously. You listen to me. At the same time, the other 3 major battlefields also received news one after another. Snort. If I became Hokage. After Danzo secretly cursed a piece of trash, he continued to focus on his own plan. Faced with the harassment from Sunagakur village, he always followed the principle of hiding if he could, and fighting if he couldn't. Fortunately, Chiyo is old and can be blocked by sending a few more Jonin, and the one in Sunagakur village is still young. His only opponent is Luo Sha. But even so, Konoha's guards were still retreating. But even if the territory of the Fire Country began to be lost, it could not shake Danzo's heart. As long as his plan succeeds, the current crisis in Konoha will be lifted in an instant. And he was able to ascend to the position of Hokage as he wished. On the other hand, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Jiraiya were extremely anxious. Not only was he worried about the safety of his disciples and his crush, but he was also worried that no one could resist Uchiha Kaide. But no matter how worried they were, they had no time to take care of Uchiha Kaide. Sarutobi Hiruzen was suppressed by Onoki, and no one could resist the 5-tailed Jinchuriki. The territory he lost was even several times that of Danzo. On Jiraiya's side, he exposed his Sage Mode, and with the help of the Myoboku Toad, he successfully blocked the 4th Raikage and Kurabi. However, the 4th Raikage, who had fought several times to no avail, was also angry, and seemed to want to drag the 2 tails who stayed in the village into the battlefield. By then, it is estimated that his side will also begin to collapse. Konoha is worried about Zongzong, but the 3 major ninja villages are quite happy. Especially Onoki, who thought he knew Uchiha Kaide, was not worried at all that Uchiha Kaide would aim at them. Although the other 2 villages were shocked by Uchiha Kaide's power, if Uchiha Kaide fights all the way to Konoha, Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Air Battlefield will definitely start to defend. Then they can also divide the land of the Fire Country. Yes, it is partition. Since receiving the news that Kaide Uchiha sent people to occupy the towns of the Land of Fire, the 3 ninja villages and the daimyo of the 3 kingdoms were all moved. Yes. Now that they have occupied the land of the Fire Nation, why do they want to return it? Although temporary robbery is fun, wouldn't long-term management be more beneficial? As a result, for the first time in the Ninja World War, no ninja went to plunder the civilians of the enemy country. Instead, they actively maintain law and order and are bound to retain the land they occupy forever. Uchiha Kaide took Tsunade to the clan site that Uchiha was building. Looking at the huge tree in the sky in front of her, Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. What is this? She could feel the same natural force in the air that she had felt in the wet-bone forest where the slug was. And the closer you get to the sacred tree, the stronger the power of nature becomes. The center even surpasses the Shigu forest of the 3 holy places. Smelling the air here, Tsunade could even feel that the severed meridians in her body were beginning to heal. Unfortunately, the healing meridians were instantly cut off again by the Senjutsu chakra that Kaide Uchiha left in her body. Come with me. Uchiha Kaide smiled and pulled the rope in his hand. The other end of the rope was tied to Tsunade's neck and hands behind her back. The shocked Tsunade was interrupted and returned to this feeling of shame again. She is the 5th Hokage of Konoha, being led by Kaide Uchiha like a domestic pet. If she could do it, Tsunade would like to smash Uchiha Kaide's head with one punch. But she couldn't resist. So she could only be humiliated by Uchiha Kaide, and was led into a room under the curious eyes of many busy people on the road. What do you want to do? Tsunade looked at Kaide Uchiha warily, as if he would show his bestiality and pounce on her in the next second. Uchiha Kaide looked at her with a smile. I want to take you to relive your memories. As soon as the kaleidoscope turned, Tsunade was instantly pulled into the world of Genjutsu. Ellipsis. Kill. Kill these Konoha guys. Tsunade was awakened from chaos by shouts of killing. Taking her for a closer look, she found that she had arrived at an inexplicable battlefield. Come on, let me show you something. Uchiha Kaide's voice rang in her ears. Then, Uchiha Kaide walked past her and walked forward. Seeing this, Tsunade followed him uncontrollably. Look, that person seems to be from your Thousand Hands clan, right? Uchiha Kaide pointed forward, and Tsunade immediately looked in the direction he pointed. I saw a familiar figure in front of me, resisting the attack of 3 enemies with 2 teammates. Tsunade knows that person. That person was the only clan member left behind when the second Hokage ordered most of the Senju clan to hide in Konoha. There are more than 40 people like her, including her and her brother Shengshu. They were left to continue to inherit and perpetuate the name of the Thousand Hands clan. But during World War II and World War III, these people all died, and she was the only one left in the end. Ellipsis. I saw that the Thousand Hands tribesmen in front of me, with the cooperation of 2 teammates, used all means to finally defeat 3 enemies. But the next moment, the sharp blade penetrated his heart. He turned around in disbelief, only to find that the person who killed him was his teammate. Why? He spent his last life asking this painful question. The teammate who killed him said coldly, "You are proud to be the first and second generation clansman, and you have threatened the rule of Hokage. On the order of Lord Danzo, kill all the Senju clan members in this battle." Ellipsis. When Tsunade in the distance saw this, her heart suddenly hurt. Then the scene in front of him suddenly changed to another battlefield. The people participating in the war are still a few clan members who inherited the name of Thousand Hands. Their fate was the same as that of the clansmen in front of them. When they were most relaxed, they were stabbed through the heart by their trusted teammates. Then the scene changes again. Uchiha Kaide combined the memories in Tsunade's mind to combine her previous conjectures and those confirmed answers. That is, the moments of death of those Thousand Hands clan members are replayed over and over again. This is Tsunade's heart. It is also the source of hemophobia. Finally, the figure of her brother Naoshu appears in the picture. Next to Naoki was Orochimaru with an admiring look on his face. Naoki was his first disciple. At this time, Tsunade, who had been silent all this time, finally made some noise. She grabbed Uchiha Kaide with tears in her eyes, and Uchiha Kaide could feel her arms trembling. Please, don't show me this, please. Uchiha Kaide's face was expressionless, and the scene in front of him remained unchanged. He stretched out his hand and straightened Tsunade's head, which was turned to one side, so that she could watch the next scene intuitively. Then he put his mouth to her ear and whispered, "Face the facts, Tsunade. Look straight into your heart." Tsunade wanted to close her eyes, but Uchiha Kaide opened them with her fingers. Suddenly, a ninja ran into the screen and came to the front of Naoki and Orochimaru. Then he said respectfully, "Lord Orochimaru, we have checked it out and there are no traps ahead. Okay, let's chase." Orochimaru looked at the rope tree, then smiled and waved his hand. Then Naoki and the ninja quickly ran forward. "Do not go," Tsunade subconsciously shouted in pain. She knew what was coming next. But this is just her inner fantasy, the destined fact cannot be changed. The next moment, boom. Violent explosions resounded throughout the sky. The figure of Shengshu who stepped forward excitedly was instantly swallowed up by the aftermath of the explosion. No. Seeing the rope tree being instantly submerged by the explosion, Tsunade cried out in pain. This was the scene she least wanted to see, the scene before the death of her biological brother Shengshu. Damn it! Orochimaru's expression in the picture changed, and he looked angrily at the ninja who came to report. Miraculously, he was not swallowed up by the explosion. The man and Orochimaru looked at each other, then quickly took out their kunai and committed suicide. Maybe out of guilt, maybe. Orochimaru looked at this scene blankly, then closed his eyes in pain. Tsunade was also heartbroken and unable to breathe at this time. This is a dusty memory in her heart, a pain that she has never had the courage to face. Today Uchiha Kaide laid it bloody in front of her eyes. He was the tribesman who was betrayed by his teammates before, and now he is the rope tree who was deceived into a trap. The last thing left is you, the Senju who are on the verge of destruction. This is the Konoha you have longed for. This is the nature of those senior executives. Uchiha Kaide's words, which were like magical sounds, kept ringing in Tsunade's ears. This is the first day. Scenes of clan members unwilling to die, and the unrecognizable body of his brother Shengshu. These all started to repeat in Tsunade's mind. I don't know how much time passed, but Tsunade's eyes gradually became numb and empty. She no longer needed Uchiha Kaide to force her to watch the scene played back over and over again without blinking. Kaide Uchiha's words that sounded like a Devi. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel L's Temptation sounded. Integrating the tribe into Konoha, only a few dozen people were left to maintain the name of Senju. But why do they still go to the battlefield? Who bewitched them? For a moment, Tsunade thought of Sarutobi Hiruzen and his 4 senior officials who were mentioned repeatedly by Kaide Uchiha. In this illusion where she didn't know the passage of time, she began to believe Uchiha Kaide's words more and more. There seemed to be a thought in her heart telling her, Uchiha Kaide is right. Kaide Uchiha would never lie to her. Seeing this, Kaide Uchiha coldly tore apart Tsunade's last disguise. So what you suffer from is not hemophobia, but the sorrow and hatred of knowing the truth but being unable to take revenge. You don't dare to face all this, you don't dare to face your dead people, you feel that you are sorry for them. So you are afraid of blood, because it will remind you of the sins Konoha committed on Senju, and of yourself who cannot take revenge. The last mask of strength that she pretended to have on the outside was torn apart, and Tsunade's inner thoughts began to emerge. Resentment, hatred, killing. Countless negative emotions began to condense in Tsunade's heart. This is not some illusion or suggestion Uchiha Kaide cast on Tsunade. Every time Tsunade takes a breath, the power emanating from the sacred tree will enter her body. If things go on like this, she will gradually recognize Uchiha Kaide as her master without any hint at all. But Uchiha Kaide doesn't want to see a puppet without his own feelings. So he did all this. Those fantasies all come from Tsunade's heart. He just used this to draw out the accumulated emotions that Tsunade had suppressed deep in her heart and had nowhere to vent. This is Tsunade's depressed heart after discovering the truth. Tsunade, who has always been carefree on the surface, has nowhere to vent her inner hatred and regret. So she could only choose to indulge in alcohol. But now, the dark side of Tsunade's heart has completely awakened. Outside, Tsunade opened her empty eyes. Looking at Uchiha Kaide, she said hoarsely, Uchiha. At this time, Uchiha Kaide raised Tsunade's chin almost teasingly. What, do you recognize yourself? Tsunade was silent and turned her head to one side. Uchiha Kaide smiled lightly and said, so I said that we have a common enemy. Come, join me in destroying this rotten Konoha. Tsunade turned her head and looked at Kaide Uchiha with a swish. Those civilians are innocent. Uchiha Kaide narrowed her eyes and smiled. For Tsunade to say this, it means that she has followed her heart. But what needs to be corrected still needs to be corrected. Maybe some of them are innocent, but most of them die without mercy. Kaide Uchiha leaned close to Tsunade's ear, think about your sister Kushina's son. I announced the identity of his heroic son, but did any of the civilians apologize to him? How do they treat Naruto now? Tsunade closed her eyes in pain. Most civilians chose to completely ignore Naruto. Even if Naruto passes by them, they will treat him as heir. This is not as good as the hostility before. At least at that time, someone still responded to the lonely Naruto. But now, it's as if Naruto doesn't exist. This is the bad nature of human beings. How many people will admit that they have made a huge mistake? Especially what they did was the kind of thing that was worse than a pig or a dog. The bloody reality left Tsunade speechless. After a long silence, she said softly, "I listen to you." Uchiha Kaide smiled. After 3 days of inner fantasy, combined with the power of the system's enhanced version of the sacred tree, Tsunade was completely taught. Konoha. Are you ready for your Hokage-sama's attack? Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Kaide Uchiha was lying lazily on top of the sacred tree, basking in the sun. Uchiha Izumi on the side would pick up a small fruit and stuff it into Uchiha Kaide's mouth from time to time. Such a life is really leisurely tilde. After a long time, Kaide Uchiha stretched and sat up from Makoto's arms behind him. Makoto blushed, even though it was not the first time. But every time she does this, she feels very ashamed. She could only comfort herself in her heart. Kaide Uchiha is the hope of Uchiha, and it is only natural to serve the clan leader. At this time, Uchiha Kaide sighed quite boredly. There are still too few people under my command now. It was already 3 days after the battle. Tsunade was completely taught by her and is now practicing sage mode under the guidance of Kaide Uchiha. When she finishes, Uchiha Kaide will give Konoha a big surprise. But Naoto and the others on the other side encountered difficulties on the way forward. Perhaps in order to stop their advance, Konoha began to set traps at all costs. Along the way from Takino country to Konoha, there are large traps blocking them almost every few dozen meters. Naoto and the others had to slowly send people to clean up, so they were delayed like this. This is also because there are too few people available on his side, otherwise the cleaning speed would be greatly improved. However, military strength cannot be achieved overnight. Uchiha Kaide has begun to build a ninja school, and under the influence of the sacred tree, the civilians of Taki Ninja Village have also responded positively. But even with the most elite teaching methods, it will take 3 or 4 years for the next batch of ninjas to emerge. However, because of Uchiha Kaide's previous reputation, the war in the outside world will not affect this place at all. Takanon village can develop stably. So Uchiha Kaide just took some time off. Clan leader. At this moment, a tribesman suddenly appeared under the sacred tree. He shouted to the top, "The great elder has something important to ask you to come over." It seems something has been done. Uchiha Kaide's eyes lit up. The pupil technique was activated, and he instantly appeared next to the great elder. At this time, there was a Taki nin standing next to the great elder. Seeing Kaide Uchiha arriving, the elder couldn't help but complained. "You live a carefree life, so you just need to trouble me, an old guy, to handle your affairs." Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, "Compared to these, I prefer to practice. After all, strong strength is my foundation." The elder rolled his eyes, embarrassed to expose Uchiha Kaide. "Is that serious cultivation of yours?" Uchiha Kaide is also a little embarrassed. The great elder has taken care of him since he was a child, and now he has to drag him in to handle government affairs. After thinking for a while, he said, "How about I call Tsunade over to deal with it?" "Forget it, let me do it," the great elder immediately refused. Although Uchiha Kaide said that Tsunade can be trusted, he naturally rejects people from the Senju clan. What's more, Tsunade is still the Hokage of Konoha, so she might regret it at some point. If you want him to really trust you, wait until Tsunade defeats Konoha. The great elder immediately started talking about business. "I just received news that the spies of Taki Ninja Village who were previously buried in Konoha have recently obtained Konoha's defense map. But they were discovered, a big battle broke out, and only 3 Taki nin were left hiding. So I want Naoto and the others to send out a few people to get back the defense map. Although the Great Elder knew that Uchiha Kaide trusted him immensely, he would still call Uchiha Kaide to make decisions every time it involved the transfer of ninjas. He doesn't want Uchiha Kaide to become someone like Uchiha Madara. He was extremely powerful, but when he left Konoha, no one was willing to follow him. However, the Great Elder does not you. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's novel Understand the Power of the Sacred Tree. This plot is a bit familiar. Uchiha Kaide closed his eyes and quickly began to review the plot. Several physical enhancements made his memory extremely clear. Soon, he found the familiar plot. Opening his eyes again, a smile appeared on Uchiha Kaide's face. There's no need to look for Naoto and the others. I just have nothing to do right now, so I'll go visit my old place again. And I can also take this opportunity to see my results. Saying that, Uchiha Kaide's figure disappeared instantly. Seeing this, the Great Elder could only shake his head, and then continued to immerse himself in the mountains of documents. In the forest outside Konoha, Uchiha Maple appeared instantly. Here are the marked kunai he left beforehand. Leaving a mark again, Uchiha Kaide instantly entered Sage mode. Huge perception enveloped Konoha, and he quickly found the target. It seems I came just in time. As he said that, he rushed over there in a blink of an eye. At the same time, the 9 tails in Naruto's body suddenly opened its eyes. Damn, that guy is back. Naruto, who was wandering in the woods, stopped instantly. Who? Kyuubi grinned, Uchiha Kaide. Naruto's eyes widened immediately. He finally waited for Uchiha Kaide to come to him again. Where is he? I want to see him. Kyuubi closed his eyes again. Don't worry, he's already here. These days of getting along with each other have made the relationship between him and Naruto rapidly improve. Kyuubi began to pity Naruto, and Naruto regarded Kyuubi as his confidant and teacher. Not receiving any further reply from Kyuubi, Naruto simply sat by the tree and looked up at the sky. I really don't want to stay in this place for a whole day. These days, the villagers' indifference made Naruto feel even more uncomfortable than before. At least my old self can still get a response. Especially today, it broke Naruto's heart. There was a war here yesterday, and today a few children found themselves. Said that as long as he got a trophy here, they would be willing to accommodate him and be friends with him. How could Naruto, who was growing rapidly, not be able to see through this trick? Civilians are strictly prohibited from approaching this place, because there might be enemies hiding here. There were adults nearby, but no one stood up to remind me. Did they want to die themselves? In sadness, Naruto simply walked in and started thinking about his future. Suddenly, Naruto, who was looking at the sky in a daze, found a reflective object in the bird's nest above his head. After getting up and jumping, Naruto accurately landed on the branch. When I picked it up, I saw it was a strange-looking kunai. Is this considered a trophy? Thinking of the previous requests from the children, Naruto suddenly sneered. The resentment in my heart finally couldn't be suppressed at this moment. Next second. Little Naruto, can you give me that kunai? A familiar voice suddenly sounded above his head. Naruto raised his head in surprise. Standing above him was the familiar figure of Kaide Uchiha. Swish, swish, swish. At the same time, 3 figures jumped out instantly and knelt down on one knee. Master Feng. The 3 of them are the spies who survived Taki Nin. From the moment Naruto entered the forest, they began to observe him. Until they saw Naruto finding this kunai, they were just about to show up to snatch it, but Uchiha Kaide arrived first. As for how they met Uchiha Kaide. Now Uchiha Kaide has occupied Taki Ninja Village and led Taki Ninja to take over a large area of Fire Country. This is not news that no one knows in the ninja world, they naturally know it too. Are they your subordinates? At this time, Naruto also looked at Uchiha Kaide in surprise. There are 9 tails in his body, and he has already discovered the 3 guys hiding in his body. Of course, there are also those Konoha Anbu who think they are well hidden. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Say Sao 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 has arrived. Swish swish swish. In an instant, 10 Anbu jumped out. The moment they saw Uchiha Kaide, they knew that this matter was going to be a big deal today. The leader immediately ordered his subordinates. Go and inform the 2 elders that Kaide Uchiha is back. Then he looked at Uchiha Kaide and roared. Kaide Uchiha, how dare you come to Konoha? Uchiha Kaide sneered. What am I afraid of? This is not a scary place. He was just standing casually on the tree, but he was able to put endless pressure on these Anbu. A stream of cold sweat slipped from the forehead of the leader. At this time, his eyes swept over Naruto, and he shouted hurriedly. Naruto-sama, please come over to me. We will risk our lives to protect your safety. Hearing this, Uchiha Kaide raised the corners of his mouth. Naruto didn't say a word, and even turned his face to the side indifferently. If Kaide Uchiha really came to pick him up today, he no longer wanted to go back to that cold village. The leader Anbu's pupils shrank. This matter is completely serious. At this time, an Anbu behind him couldn't help but stepped forward and angrily shouted. Do you know who is standing next to you? He is Kaide Uchiha, the culprit responsible for Konoha's current situation. Did you come here just to rebel against the village? Shut up. The leader's expression changed drastically in an instant, and he turned around and scolded this person angrily. How dare you provoke anger at this point? Is this person afraid that Naruto will not leave the village? How come he has such stupid guys under his command? Then he hurriedly explained to Naruto. Naruto-sama, we didn't mean that. Ah. Naruto raised the corners of his mouth mockingly. Your faces, the faces of those villagers, I have seen through it a long time ago. Without waiting for the Anbu to react, Naruto looked at Uchiha Kaide again. Then he suddenly fell to his knees. It's the truth you told me, but I'm still confused at this time. So, please take me away and teach me to become stronger. I don't want to stay in this village anymore. I want to see the truth of this world. As he said that, he kowtowed heavily to Uchiha Kaide. This scene completely shocked the Anbu group. The 3 female ninjas from Taki Ninja Village looked at Uchiha Kaide with even brighter eyes. What did they see? The son of the 4th Hokage, the hero of Konoha, the Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails, actually wanted to become one of Konoha's biggest enemies as his disciple. This magical scene completely shattered their outlook on life. The leading Anbu even screamed. Lord Naruto, you are the son of the 4th Hokage. You can't be fooled by Uchiha Kaide, he is our enemy of Konoha. Naruto murmured. The son of the 4th Hokage. Then he laughed at himself. They say I am the son of the 4th Hokage, but why do I feel like you want to think of me more as a demon fox? In this village, do I get any respect from you? At the last sentence, Naruto roared almost at the top of his lungs. His eyes turned red, his pupils turned into fox pupils, and dark red unknown chakra began to appear around him. Before Kyuubi could stop him, Naruto actually activated the Kyuubi's chakra. Can you imagine the hatred in his heart at this time? At this time, Uchiha Kaide spoke. Indeed, this village is not worth cherishing at all. He looked at Naruto. From today on, just follow me. I will take you to see the truth of this world. Knowing that Uchiha Kaide agreed, Naruto bowed again. Master. The leading Anbu clenched his fists, but was completely powerless to prevent this scene from happening. Hateful. He could only pray in his heart, praying that the support of the 2 elders would arrive soon. But what he doesn't know is the moment he. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Ard Kaide Uchiha's arrival. The first thing the 2 elders did was to summon ninjas to protect them. Then I started thinking about how many people should be sent here. Uchiha Kaide stretched out his hand to pull Naruto up from the ground, and then looked at the group of Anbu. It's a kindness on my part to keep you alive for so long. In a blink of an eye, Uchiha Kaide came directly to the middle of the group of Anbu. Kyoka Suigetsu unsheathed instantly and directly slit the throats of the two Anbu. Ah tilde. Hearing the screams behind him, the leader was shocked. He immediately jumped up and left the spot, and at the same time turned around in the air and quickly formed seals. Wind escape. Thousand-faced wind. Uncle Master's wind blade suddenly attacked Uchiha Kaide. However, he just grabbed a bewildered Anbu and blocked all these wind blades. The Anbu let out a painful cry, then tilted his head and died. Damn it! The leader gritted his teeth. Why hasn't support arrived yet? With these few, they are no match for Uchiha Kaide. Even if Kaide Uchiha was acting playfully at this moment, all he had to do to kill them was to raise his sword and drop it. In just this moment, he lost 3 subordinates. No. Now there are 5. At this moment, Uchiha Kaide killed 2 people again. Run. In the end, the leader had no choice but to shout out this shameful word with hatred. Then he turned around and ran towards the village without any hesitation. The other Anbu saw this and fled quickly. Can you run away? Uchiha Kaide sneered and shook his head. He didn't need to do anything next. Then he put away Kyoka Suigetsu and turned to look at Naruto. Do you want to take revenge on this village before leaving? Naruto was stunned for a moment, then nodded heavily. Think. At this time, he was already wrapped in hatred, and nothing was worth caring about. Uchiha Kaide smiled. Kyuubi, come out to work. The 9 tails in Naruto's body opened its eyes instantly, and it understood what Uchiha Kaide meant. Little devil, give me your body. Without hesitation, Naruto immediately let Kyuubi take over his body. Ha ha ha, are you ready for my revenge? With an excited growl, Naruto aimed at the Konoha shelter and opened his mouth. During the period of reconstruction of Konoha, civilians and ninjas temporarily lived in that area. The next moment, black yin and yang chakra continued to condense in his mouth. Tailed Beast Jade. In just the blink of an eye, a huge tailed beast jade formed above Naruto's head. The momentum is really good. Kaide Uchiha turned on the kaleidoscope and instantly began to analyze the chakra composition of the tailed beast jade. This is very meaningful for him to study yin-yang escape. What's the situation? At this moment, the support that is always delayed finally arrived. Looking at the familiar tailed beast jade from a distance, the shadow of 8 years ago once again flooded into the hearts of these ninjas. Kyuubi. It's Kyuubi. What happened? Isn't the Kyuubi inside that demon? It's over, its target is the shelter. The ninjas looked at this scene in despair. At this time, they don't have a second 4th generation Hokage. And those ninjas who didn't come also noticed the huge chakra fluctuations of the tailed beast jade. They all raised their heads and looked in this direction. Then, the tailed beast jade launches. The momentum was overwhelming, and everything along the way was instantly crushed by this momentum. A ravine instantly connected this place to the shelter in the distance. Those ninjas who tried to stop him had their defenses penetrated, and then their bodies were crushed. Facing such disaster-level power, the power of ninjas appears extremely small. Finally, Tailed Beast Tam came to the shelter. Landing. Explosion. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. The explosion of the tailed beast jade instantly swallowed up the shelter. The huge black smoke forms a mushroom shape and can be seen even by people who are more than 10 miles away. Except for a few on the edge, some of the ninjas who reacted pulled them away and were only hurt by the shock wave. The remaining tens of thousands of people were directly killed by the tailed beast jade. If the casualties caused by Uchiha Kaide are included, the number of people in Konoha has dropped by half. Tisk, this kid's body is still too weak. Kyuubi curled his lips, he wanted to shoot another tailed beast jade. Then he looked at Uchiha Kaide and grinned. I suddenly like you a little bit. Saying that, it quickly returned its body to Naruto. After all, Naruto is still young, and if he continues to be replaced by him, he will be irreparably damaged. Uchiha Kaide smiled. You are so arrogant, have you actually started to care about Naruto's safety? Kyuubi did not answer, and became angry and cut off contact with the outside world. Seeing that Kyuubi didn't answer, Uchiha Kaide stepped forward and patted Naruto on the shoulder. Well done. Naruto's body was shaking a little. This was his first time killing someone. Although it is not his power, it is his body. At this moment, Naruto completely embarked on the path of darkness. Uchiha Kaide continued. Naruto, from now on, follow me to change this rotten world. Naruto nodded heavily. Speaking of which, when he saw the tragic situation over there, he couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. Haven't you always said that I am a demon fox? Then I will let you meet the real demon fox. Where does it hurt? At this moment, a surprised voice suddenly sounded. Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of her mouth. It's really interesting. He had long sensed that a familiar character was approaching here. Naruto turned his head and looked, his eyes moving slightly. Dry throat. The person coming is Uchiha Sasuke. After he heard the ridicule of the brats who fooled Naruto by the river, for some reason, he subconsciously wanted to come over and take a look. Uchiha Kaide led the tribe to rebel, and your father and brother fought hard to resist idiographic period. In the end, your father died and your brother was seriously injured and missing. Perhaps fearing the missing Itachi, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally asked Danzo to release Sasuke. And ever since Sarutobi Hiruzen told Sasuke the truth, he once again shouldered the identity of an avenger. But this time his target is no longer Itachi, but Uchiha Kaide. But in recent times, every time he saw Naruto, he felt like he was seeing the same kind of people. Fathers are heroes, but people look at them strangely. Unknowingly, Sasuke wanted to get close to Naruto. But Naruto has changed. Knowing the truth, he began to reject everyone, and naturally ignored Sasuke's hidden concern. Even the resonance of Asura Chakra and Indra Chakra in his body could not shake Naruto at this time. So Naruto just looked at Sasuke and then looked at Uchiha Kaide again. Master, can we leave this place? At this time, Sasuke followed Naruto's gaze and looked at Uchiha Kaide. You are Kaide Uchiha. In an instant, huge hatred poured into Sasuke's mind. Traitor, die! He roared angrily, then waved his fist and charged towards Uchiha Kaide. If it weren't for Kaide Uchiha's ambition, he would still have that complete family. He wants to avenge his father and brother. Boom! The next second, Uchiha Kaide made no move, but his fist was firmly caught by Naruto. He looked at Sasuke coldly. Are you looking for death? Although he knew that Sasuke could not threaten Uchiha Kaide, he still subconsciously took action. Maybe, you don't want to see Sasuke casually killed by Kaide Uchiha, right? Sasuke roared unappreciatively. Wherever it hurts, please get out of my way. I want to avenge. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel E. My Father and Brother. Naruto immediately sneered. You can't even defeat me, but you still want to deal with my master. As he said that, he threw Sasuke to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw. Ah! Sasuke suddenly saw stars in his eyes and lay on the ground with his body arched and wailing. With the help of Kyuubi, Naruto's physical condition is almost the same every day. In front of these immature ninja school students, he is already terrifyingly powerful. There is no way Sasuke can defeat Naruto right now. This development is completely opposite to the original work. Uchiha Kaide watched it with relish. What an interesting scene. The smile on his lips never stopped. It seems that with my appearance, the fate of Naruto and Sasuke will be reversed. When he saw Sasuke, he was planning to bring him to Makoto Idiographic period. But now he has given up the idea. Watching the original protagonists fall in love and kill each other in reverse seems to add a lot of fun to a boring life. And with Makoto as his trump card, no matter what Sasuke becomes, he will eventually fall into his hands. At this time, those angry support ninjas finally rushed over desperately. He looked at Naruto and then at Uchiha Kaide. One of them directly chose to direct his anger at Naruto. Naruto, what happened to the Kyuubi just now? Naruto turned to look at him and smiled nervously. Kyuubi, of course I released it. Don't you want to see the demon fox? I just showed it to you. Those ninjas suddenly became angry. Damn it, he actually killed so many of our villagers. Really? You are the incarnation of the demon fox. What son of a hero? You are not worthy at all. You are a devilish fox with a wolf-like heart and a dog-like heart. Demon fox, I should have strangled you to death when you were little. Are you doing this worthy of your father who gave his life for Konoha? Ellipsis ellipsis. The angry curses completely ignited Naruto's inner anger. Father. He smiled sadly. Then he roared angrily. If I could see him, I would like to ask. Does Konoha, who has put me through so much pain, know about his bastard guardian? As soon as these words were spoken, in the cage where Kyuubi was sealed, Kyuubi opened his eyes in an instant. After looking at the sealing charm attached to the cage, the corners of its mouth rose slightly. Just now, there was a wave of emotions coming from the sealing talisman. The fourth generation. To the outside world, Naruto's roar directly shocked those ninjas. A ninja with a conscience is extremely complicated inside. Naruto would become like this because they forced him to do so. And those without conscience, after being shocked, started to curse noisily again. Naruto looked at this group of unrepentant people, his eyes gradually turned cold. At this time, Uchiha Kaide stepped forward and put his hand on his shoulder. Do you need master to help you kill them? For a moment, the ninjas suddenly fell silent. The fear of death made their legs begin to tremble. Naruto opened his mouth and looked at the group of clowns in front of him, with a trace of hatred flashing in his eyes. No need, when I become stronger, I will come back in person to take revenge. Uchiha Kaide smiled and praised. Goodwill. Then he looked at the group of ninjas, narrowed his eyes and smiled. Don't be afraid, you can still live for a while. And, this is just the beginning, bigger surprises are yet to come. Then, he took Naruto and the three Taki nin and disappeared instantly. It wasn't until they left that Sasuke, whose body pain had subsided a lot, got up from the ground shakily. He looked at the place where Uchiha Kaide and others disappeared, his eyes almost popped out of his head. Naruto, we are the same people, I will never let that guy fool you. The pupils turned bright red, and two Magatama formed instantly. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Taki Ninja Village. This. Kyuubi stood up inside Naruto with a look of astonishment. It sensed a familiar scent. 10 tails. It immediately growled. Kid, let me say a few words to Uchiha Kaide. Naruto was a little confused. Why did Kyuubi give him the feeling of fear? Is there anything in this world that scares Kyuubi? But he still obeyed and let Kyuubi's soul come out. As soon as he came out, Kyuubi stared at Uchiha Kaide. Uchiha Kaide, what's with that 10 tails feeling? Uchiha Kaide smiled and pointed behind it. Turn around and you'll understand. Kyuubi quickly turned his head, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink in the next second. That's a sacred tree that's still growing. Then he looked at Uchiha Kaide with vigilance for a moment. So, you tricked Naruto here just to make that sacred tree swallow me. Uchiha Kaide shook her head speechlessly. Do you think I need to go to such trouble to deal with you? Sure enough, the IQs of you tailed beasts are not very good. Saying that, Uchiha Kaide snapped his fingers. Roar. With a dull roar, Nanao flew over from behind the sacred tree. Chongming. Kyuubi's eyes widened in disbelief. After Nanao came over, he first looked at Uchiha Kaide like a dog. Master Feng is back. Then he looked at Nine Tails proudly. I didn't expect you, a stinky fox, to come too. It's a pity, I am free now and you are still in the Jinchuriki body. Ha 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 ha. Nanao's wanton ridicule made Kyuubi's face darken instantly. In the past, it relied on its strength to be powerful, but it had never taken other tailed beasts seriously. But today, the Nanao is free, but it is still sealed in the body of Naruto, the brat. How can the proud creature endure this? It roared angrily. Chongming, do you want to fight with me? Nanao glanced at it contemptuously. I've been getting stronger recently. You stinky fox, just wait for me to surpass you. Ever since Kaide Uchiha asked him to donate chakra to the sacred tree, he discovered that as long as he stayed next to the sacred tree, his origin would become stronger little by little. This is something that has never happened since its creation. So he fell in love with the sacred tree, and now he lives on it almost every day ideographic period. But even so, it didn't mention a word about the duel. I am only getting stronger every day. It will take at least several hundred years to defeat the stinky fox Kyubi. Although Kyubi was unhappy with Neneo's arrogance, he felt relieved at this moment. Neneo is still alive and is still getting stronger slightly, which proves that Kaide Uchiha will not let him be sacrificed at least. At this time Uchiha Kaide said, "Okay, if you want to reminisce about old times, you will have plenty of time." He looked at Kyubi and said, "For the time being, you can continue to stay in Naruto's body. When I master the power of 6 paths, I can release you without affecting Naruto. But as a price, you and Neneo will provide chakra to this sacred tree in the future." Kyubi hummed and agreed. It's just chakra, that's what it lacks most. Then it immediately switched back with Naruto. Continuing to watch Neneo show off its freedom outside, Kyubi was afraid that he would not be able to help but beat Neneo up. Afterwards, Uchiha Kaide took Naruto to the clan land under construction. For these 9-tailed beasts, he got a better way to deal with them from the system than sacrificing them to the sacred tree. But you have to wait for all 9-tailed beasts to gather before you can use it. Uchiha Kaide returns with Konoha's 9-tailed Jinchuriki, shocking everyone in the village. That is Konoha's most precious weapon. If any ninja village dares to move, Konoha will definitely use all its strength to retaliate. But today, the 9-tailed Jinchuriki was brought back by Uchiha Kaide. Involuntarily, the villagers' and tribesmen's respect for Uchiha Kaide became even higher. With Kaide Uchiha sitting here, who in the ninja world would dare to touch them? At this time, Uchiha Kaide had already brought Naruto to the mansion he had initially built. Touching Naruto's head, Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, "You should read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel I've here before leaving the army." Quote, "This place is different from Konoha. You are my disciple and no one will disrespect you." Naruto nodded excitedly and couldn't help but start thinking about his future life. Then, Tsunade and the Great Elder, who were startled by the sound, rushed over. "Naruto." Tsunade looked at Naruto with a complicated look. She didn't expect that Uchiha Kaide would even pull Naruto into the camp. Konoha is really completely decayed. The Great Elder looked at Uchiha Kaide quite excitedly. Every time Uchiha Kaide takes action, it brings him a different shock. Uchiha Kaide introduced everyone to Naruto. They were all smart people who knew the nature of the ninja world, and none of them looked at Naruto strangely. Such treatment made Naruto feel extremely comfortable. Then Uchiha Kaide pointed at Tsunade and said, "You should be familiar with the 5th Hokage, right? She is also the sister of your mother, Kushina Uzumaki." Suddenly, Naruto looked at Tsunade with a hint of recognition. Although he resented his father, he missed his mother who was also a Jinchuriki. Seeing that the elder still had something to say, Uchiha Kaide patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, "Okay, go talk to Tsunade about your mother." Afterwards, he and the Great Elder walked into the living room. The Great Elder's face became serious and he said, "During the time you went to Konoha, something big happened in the ninja world. Perhaps because you broke the rules, the 3 ninja villages began to truly occupy the land of fire. However, there has always been a buffer zone between countries, which is the country of grass, the country of soup, the country of rivers, those small countries. Now, the big countries are taking action against the small countries adjacent to the fire country. Facing the attack of the 3 major ninja villages, those countries were occupied in less than a day." Uchiha Kaide's eyes flashed. "It seems that we have underestimated the greed of these ninja villages. In this case, let's take action. Sooner or later, we are going to take action against the entire ninja world. This incident is just an introduction." After Uchiha Kaide finished speaking, the Great Elder immediately took out a prepared map of the ninja world. After watching for a moment, Uchiha Kaide pointed to the country of iron and the country of sound on the right. Then take over these two countries, and then take over all the surrounding fire country territory. Saying that, Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, "It just so happens that we are short of manpower now. Although the group of warriors in the Kingdom of Iron are not very powerful, their numbers are still quite good." The Great Elder said, "Then I'll call Naoto and the others back first." Uchiha Kaide shook his head, "Why bother? The warriors of the Iron Kingdom respect the strong. I can suppress them all by myself." As for the country of sound, Kaide Uchiha thought of Orochimaru, and then said, "I'll go there myself, maybe I'll get some good results." The Great Elder nodded and looked at the map to study it. After a while he smiled again and said, "In this way, except for the small countries between the Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Wind. Today's ninja world has been divided between the 5 major ninja villages and us. But in the future, when we are bordering the Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Thunder, we still have to be prepared to prevent them from attacking us. After all, we still have too few manpower now." Hearing this, Uchiha Kaide sneered. "If they dare to reach out, I will chop off their claws. Although now I prefer to watch the big drama of Konoha, but I don't mind trying the feeling of one person against 5 countries. His Susanoo has not been taken out for a long time." But at this moment, a tribesman suddenly walked in. "Clan leader, Great Elder, the remnants of Kauyan village have fled to us." He looked at Uchiha Kaide with reverence. "They said they wanted the entire village to surrender to the patriarch." Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. "Submit to me, it's really interesting. Then I'll go and have a look." Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Outside Taki Ninja Village, hundreds of people were nervously waiting for the trial. At this time, a person finally couldn't help but asked, "Leader, Uchiha Kaide will not be forced by Iwagakure village not to take us in, right?" Furua Tianwang, the leader of Kauyan village, wiped the sweat from his head. Then he comforted him. "It won't happen for sure. Uchiha Kaide occupied Taki Ninja village without killing anyone, which shows that he needs his subordinates very much. And he is a man who dares to destroy the entire Konoha. There is no way he will be scared by Iwagakure. With so many ninjas coming to seek refuge with us, it's not too late for him to be happy. The daimyo of the land of earth wants to occupy the land of grass, so Iwagakure village is naturally very happy. After all, as the kingdom of earth expands, they will also have more resources available to them." So Onoki directly sent the 5-tailed Jinchuriki and led the 500 rock ninjas to attack Kusagakure village. As long as the grass-hidden village is destroyed, the country of grass will have no power to resist. In less than a day of fighting, Kauyan village was defeated by Han, who transformed into a tailed beast. Here we are, Iwagakure village is going to completely destroy Sogakure village. In desperation, Furuwata Huang had no choice but to flee the country of grass with the stock of ninjas and their families. But now the entire small country in the ninja world was being destroyed. After thinking about it, he decided to join Uchiha Kaide, who had recently become famous. Kaide Uchiha's power has just started, and I think he will definitely accept them. Not to mention, Furuwata Huang looked at a little girl in the team who was at a loss. He also has this secret weapon. While thinking, he suddenly saw a group of people walking out of the waterfall outside Taki Ninja Village. Coming, Gua Tianwang felt solemn in his heart. The next fate of Kauyan village will be determined by the group of people in front of you. Uchiha Kaide took a step forward and looked at the Kusagakure village ninjas in front of him with a half smile. "I heard that you want to take refuge with me." As he stood there, a terrifying intimidation enveloped the hearts of every grass ninja. Many people couldn't help but swallow their mouths. Is this the power of the strongest person at the top of the ninja world? Just standing there makes them unable to resist at all. After coming back to his senses, Gua Tianwang said quickly, "Lord Uchiha Kaide, I am Kawada Ko, the leader of Kusagakure village." He looked in the direction of the country of grass with grief and anger. Those guys from Iwagakure attacked us in order to satisfy the greed of the daimyo of Earth Country. They sent out the Jinchuriki from the village. We are no match at all. And afterwards, they wanted to kill us all. Furuwata Huang looked at Uchiha Kaide eagerly. We have heard of your reputation and want to take refuge under your protection. Uchiha Kaide said calmly. According to what you said, Iwagakure village only sent a small group of people to defeat you. Then why should I accept you trash? Furuwata Huang was anxious. If Uchiha Kaide didn't accept them, they who were wanted by Iwagakure village would definitely die. The pursuit force of Iwagakure village is hanging at the back. He argued. Master Uchiha Kaide, that's because they sent the Jinchuriki. If no Jinchuriki came, we would definitely be able to stop those ninjas from Iwagakure village. Yeah, Uchiha Kaide sneered. This is not a garbage shelter. This group of garbage cannot enter his eyes at all. When I first conquered Taki Ninja Village, it was just because I needed a territory. Rather than this group of trash, he was more interested in the group of warriors from the kingdom of Iroh. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel N. When Furuwata Huang saw that Uchiha Kaide was unmoved, he couldn't help but become anxious. So he directly took out his trump card. He quickly turned around to look at the girl, then stepped forward and pulled her out. The little girl wanted to struggle, but she couldn't break free at all. In this way, she was dragged to Uchiha Kaide by Furuwata Huang. Furuwa Tianwang said flatteringly, I also brought you a gift. As he said that, he pushed the little girl forward. Looking at that bright red hair, Uchiha Kaide's heart moved. Glancing at Tsunade, her face was also full of disbelief. Interesting. But Gua Tianwang was still talking without fear of death. Don't be too petty about this guy, she is the most important tool in our village. Do you remember the Uzumaki clan? This guy is a descendant of the Uzumaki clan. Her physique is very special. With just one bite, no matter what kind of injury you suffer, you can recover quickly. As he spoke, he sighed with a pity look on his face. Speaking of which, we discovered this ability in her mother. It's a pity that because of the previous battle with Iwagakure, too many of us were injured. The guy's life force was exhausted and he died. The little girl pursed her lips and had tears in her eyes. She had not yet come out of the confusion of her mother's death. When Tsunade heard this, her body was already shaking with anger. The people of the Uzumaki clan were actually drained of their lives by attacks that were treated as treatments. Furuwata Huang didn't know what she was going to face next. She looked at Uchiha Kaide carefully and said, Master Uchiha Kaide, are you satisfied with this gift? Uchiha Kaide smiled. Instead of answering him, he waved to the girl. Furuwata Huang looked happy, thinking that Uchiha Kaide had already agreed. He quickly pushed the little girl who was at a loss and said, hurry up and get there. Lord Uchiha Kaide is willing to have you, that is your honor. Perhaps it was Furuwata Huang who made her very scared. The little girl immediately walked up to Uchiha Kaide tremblingly. Uchiha Kaide knelt down, touched her head and said with a smile. What's your name? The little girl answered cautiously, my name is Shonglin. Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, Shonglin, what a good name. Then he stood up and looked at Tsunade. I'll leave it to you then. Tsunade nodded, and her stern eyes instantly glanced at the group of grass ninjas. She just wants to kill people now. Feeling Tsunade's murderous gaze, Furuwata Huang instantly panicked. Master Uchiha Kaide, what do you mean? We sincerely came to see you and brought you such a gift. You can't do this to us, there's no reason. Uchiha Kaide looked at him, narrowed his eyes and smiled. I don't like your name very much, that's why. He waved his hand to Tsunade, who gently touched Shongrin's head. The next second, her figure instantly rushed into the grass ninja. Use your death to pay for the sins of the Uzumaki clan. Facing Tsunade's full strength, how could these bastards stop her? In just a few moments, the bones of more than 10 people were smashed by the angry Tsunade. Furuwata Huang never expected that things would develop to this point. He looked at Uchiha Kaide in the distance angrily. Uchiha Kaide, I didn't expect you to be a coward who was afraid of Iwagakure. He attributed all this to the fact that Uchiha Kaide was afraid of the Iwagakure village, so he attacked them. Uchiha Kaide smiled. I have never taken Iwagakure village seriously. He pointed at Tsunade and said, her name is Tsunade, I think you should have heard of this name. And her grandmother and cousin were both princesses of the Uzumaki clan. In an instant, Furua Tianlong was enveloped in huge fear. It turns out, that's the reason. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Looking at the dead subordinates bit by bit, Furua Tianlong was so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. This is the capital for him to rise again in the future. Yes, Furua Tianlong had no intention of sincerely joining him from the beginning. He just wanted to use Uchiha Kaide's name to avoid being chased by Iwagakure village. Moreover, he also heard that under Uchiha Kaide, one can learn many ninjutsu that are only available in the great ninja village. So he planned to keep a low profile for now, and after his subordinates and he learned more powerful ninja skills, he would leave Uchiha Kaide to re-establish Kusagakure village. Unfortunately, before the plan could be implemented, Kaide Uchiha's butcher knife fell first. After all, he never imagined that Tsunade, the most noble person in Konoha, is still the Hokage of this generation. Will he sincerely take refuge in Uchiha Kaide? You wouldn't dare write a novel like this, right? Looking at Uchiha Kaide who seemed not to take action, Furuwata Huang immediately gritted his teeth and roared at his subordinates. Run! Run! If Tsunade was alone, he might even dare to touch it. But there was Kaide Uchiha standing next to him, and behind him was the Taki ninja village. The only way to escape is now. Furua Tien Huang roared in his heart. Damn bastard, wait until I become stronger in the future. On the other side, the other Kusanagi heard his order and immediately fled in panic. Can you run away? Tsunade sneered. Then she quickly formed a seal and slapped it on the ground. Psychic art. Slug. Suddenly, a slug as tall as a hill was summoned by her. Tsunade immediately ordered, Slug, use acid. Yes, Tsunade-sama. The slug immediately aimed at the group of grass ninjas and opened its mouth. In an instant, the monstrous yellow thick acid covered the group of grass ninjas. The thick acid came, and any grass ninja that got on it instantly fell to the ground and started wailing. Starting from their skin, their flesh, bones, internal organs, were corroded bit by bit. As expected, even Orochimaru praised. This is something that can kill him. Uchiha Kaide lowered his head and looked at Shangulin ideographic period. Shangulin, do you know how your mother died? Shanglin nodded fiercely. It was they who killed my mother. Looking at the miserable situation of these grass ninjas, not only was there no fear in her heart, but she was filled with joy. Uchiha Kaide touched Shangrin's head. Tsunade is your distant relative. She is seeking revenge for your mother. Shangrin's talent is very good and she has inherited almost every ability of the Uzumaki clan. It's a good training target. Then looking at the grass ninja running further and further away, Uchiha Kaide waved his hand. Leave no one behind. The tribesmen and Taki nin behind him immediately rushed forward excitedly. Uchiha Kaide handed Shangrin to the Great Elder and asked him to take Shangrin to get to know Naruto. But he himself followed each step leisurely and leisurely. Under the intentional command of Uchiha Kaide, those grass ninjas were gradually chased to the handover between the country of Taki and the country of grass. There are hundreds of Yenian village troops who are hesitant to move forward. When Furuwata Huang saw the Iwagakure troops from a distance, he looked at the only 20 elites left around him. A huge despair surged into my heart. We're fucked. Ever since, this group of people stood on the border in despair. After a while, Tsunade came over with a bunch of people. Looking at the troop opposite, Tsunade couldn't help but narrow her eyes. From Iwagakure. On the opposite side, Wangtu, the leader of Iwagakure village, was extremely surprised to see Tsunade. That's Konoha's new Hokage, Tsunade. Why did he end up hanging out with a bunch of tacky nin and Uchiha? A bold idea suddenly came to my mind. Involuntarily, Wangtu felt a little afraid of Uchiha Kaide, whom he only knew and never met. This guy can actually instigate rebellion against the Hokage of Konoha. At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly sounded in the sky. Haha, I actually met someone from Iwagakure village. Then, Uchiha Kaide slowly landed in FR. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel Aunt of Tsunade. You are Kaide Uchiha. Wangtu was slightly startled. He had seen Uchiha Kaide's portrait before, so he recognized it at a glance. Kaide Uchiha ignored him and looked at the remaining grass ninjas. You have lived long enough. He stretched out his palm and pointed it at the grass ninjas. The next moment, the ground around those grass ninjas began to tremble. Then a huge stone palm rose from the ground and directly covered the grass ninja who had not yet reacted. Certainly. Uchiha Kaide clenched his fist, and the stone palm suddenly tightened. Ah tilde. Spare your life tilde. After a burst of screams, blood gathered into a small river and flowed out from the gaps in the stone palm. Wangtu's pupils shrank. What a terrifying to escape control. This guy actually released the earth release ninjutsu that he couldn't even dream of without forming any seals. He now understands why before coming here, his father Onoki Chian warned him not to be an enemy of Uchiha Kaide. This guy can protect a ninja village alone. Without any further hesitation, Lois immediately shouted to Uchiha Kaide. On my father's behalf, the third Tsuchikage Onoki would like to say hello to Takikage-sama, and thank Takikage for killing these fish that slipped through the net for us. Takikage. Uchiha Kaide smiled. This is the most interesting title he has heard recently. This guy Onoki really knows how to judge the situation. He looked at Wangtu and said lightly, but don't misunderstand me. I killed these people because they committed an unforgivable sin and it had nothing to do with your Iwagakure village. Faced with Uchiha Kaide's rudeness, Wangtu was not angry either. Whatever the reason, you've helped us a lot. The little girl Karatsuchi admires Takikage for being able to do so many great things at a young age. Takikage-sama also wants to get to know you. If Takikage is interested in coming to Iwagakure village in the future, we will definitely welcome him with the best etiquette. Lois's reaction made Uchiha Kaide frown slightly. He also thought that if these guys dared to be arrogant, he would also take down the five-tailed Jinchuriki next to Lois. But this guy's knowledge of things is simply unexpected. Obviously born in the same era, Onoki is much more interesting than those old guys like Sarutobi Hiruzen. Wangtu continued. Tsuchikage has one more thing to tell you. Right now we are all occupying the territory of the Kingdom of Fire, so friction will inevitably occur. The Tsuchikage wants to use the former Grass Country and Taki Country as the boundary to avoid friction between us. If Takikage is unwilling, he can discuss the matter with Tsuchikage in detail. Uchiha Kaide nodded and said calmly. If you have nothing else to do, just get out. Wangtu immediately clasped his fists, and then left with his troops without hesitation. Looking at their retreating figures, Uchiha Kaide murmured. Onoki of Iwagakure village is really interesting. Let's go back to. The most important thing right now is to capture the Kingdom of Iron and the Kingdom of Sound first. The other side. The guard following Wangtu couldn't help but ask. Then Uchiha Kaide is so arrogant, is Lord Lois really not angry? We in Iwagakure village may not be afraid of him alone, right? Lois said calmly. This is Tsuchikage's order. This is when the five-tailed Jinchuriki, who had been silent on the side, spoke. Kaide Uchiha is very powerful. Seeing that everyone around him was looking over, he explained. The moment Kaide Uchiha appeared, the five tails in my body contacted me for the first time. It said that it detected a trace of the 7 tails and 9 tails in Uchiha Kaide, as well as a kind of fear originating from the source. Kyuubi. Wangtu frowned. The Naneo can still be used immediately. After all, Taki Ninja Village is the owner of the Nanao. But isn't Kyuubi in Konoha? Thinking of Tsunade, who was willing to stand behind Kaide Uchiha, Huangtu's pupils shrank instantly. Could it be? Uchiha Kaide also captured Kyuubi and brought him to Taki Ninja Village. Walk. We'll go back right away and tell Lord Tsuchikage the news. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Onoki took a deep breath. Just now, he had listened to Huangtu's report on the entire incident. You handled this matter very well. Now is not the time to be at odds with Kaide Uchiha. If Kyuubi was really brought to Taki Ninja Village by him, he probably kept mocking you just now, probably because of the Han next to you. He actually wants to get the 5 tails. Huangtu's eyes widened. Does he really dare to offend Konoha and our Iwagakure village at the same time? Onoki sneered, of course he dares. I used to think that all his strength came from the Mangekyo Sharingan, but based on his recent attacks, I found out. Uchiha Kaide is comparable to Tsunade in terms of strength, and the fire escape that he showed earlier and the earth escape that just appeared are also extremely powerful. Even without the Mangekyo Sharingan, his strength is still at the cage level. If coupled with his time and space abilities, no one in the ninja world can stop his attack. As he said that, Onoki suddenly smiled and said, it seems that the 6th largest ninja village will really appear in the ninja world in the future. Fortunately Uchiha left Konoha, otherwise Konoha would have suppressed us for decades again. Originally Onoki thought that when the Uchiha Kaide kaleidoscope reached its limit, he would be able to control the Uchiha clan. But I never thought that even without the kaleidoscope, Uchiha Kaide is still an extremely powerful cage level. So he started to think about making good friends. At least in this feast of carving up the land of fire, you can't turn against Kaide Uchiha. From now on, as long as Uchiha Kaide's Mangekyo Sharingan wears off, he will be a cage-level enemy at best. At that time, he naturally no longer needed to pay attention to the relationship between Iwagakure and Uchiha Kaide. It's a pity that he will never understand the joy of hanging on the wall. And hanging on the wall to delay time, the gap between them will only get wider and wider. The other side. At this time, Uchiha Kaide has already set off for the Kingdom of Iron. Naruto and Shang-Rin, 2 little guys of the same age, similar blood, and the same miserable life experience, quickly became good friends. For their current teaching, Uchiha Kaide handed it over to Tsunade. Both little guys can learn Tsunade's abilities. And Tsunade also has the Uzumaki clan's secret sealing technique left behind by Mito. Leave it to her to teach, Uchiha Kaide feels relieved. Under Uchiha Kaide's hasty movement, he quickly entered the territory of the Kingdom of Iron. As a neutral country, the Iron Kingdom was not affected by the war at all. Instead of attacking martial arts gyms all over the country, Uchiha Kaide directly came to the capital of the Iron Kingdom. As the center of the Iron Country, almost 60% of the powerful people are here. Among them is also the leader of the Iron Kingdom who just took office and is also the strongest among the samurai. Mifune. The busiest and largest street in the capital, Uchiha Maple fell from the sky. This immediately attracted a lot of attention. Uchiha Kaide ignored it and raised his hand to his chest. Rise. Boom. Suddenly, a 20-meter-long square stone platform rose up under Uchiha Kaide's feet, cutting off the entire street. What is this person doing? With such power, is this guy a ninja? Damn it, a ninja actually came to our Kingdom of Iron and became arrogant. People around were talking a lot, and they were all ready to watch the next show. Not to mention the samurai army in the city, the surrounding martial arts gyms probably can't stand it either. Sure enough, groups of warriors came from all directions. There is a war in the ninja world right now, and they have to be vigilant if there is such a movement in the city. However, Uchiha Kaide completely ignored them. The sound of chakra spread directly throughout the capital city. My name is Uchiha Kaide, and I conquer the Iron Kingdom today. Those who are dissatisfied come here to fight. As soon as Th. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel essay words came out, the whole city exploded. Is this guy too arrogant? How dare one person dare to conquer the entire Iron Kingdom? Uchiha Kaide. Mifune frowned deeply when he heard this voice. He has heard of this name. The current war in the ninja world was caused by this guy. And he also destroyed the entire Konoha and occupied the Taki ninja village in another country. It seems that we are in big trouble today. Picking up the sword next to him, Mifune walked out of the room with a solemn expression. At this time, on Uchiha Kaide's side, countless strong men from the city rushed over. It's extremely noisy down there. He also questioned Uchiha Kaide's purpose and angrily accused Uchiha Kaide of being arrogant. Ellipsis. Uchiha Kaide ignored everything and closed his eyes and waited. It wasn't until the strong man was almost here that he opened his eyes and looked down. Raise the corner of your mouth and smile. Those who are dissatisfied will come up, of course. If you are afraid, you can come together. This sentence once again aroused the anger of everyone below. Is this guy too arrogant? Let me see what arrogance you have. A figure couldn't help but rush onto the ring. He casually held a samurai gift and said, Sakura Jim Shao Puhonga. Uchiha Kaide didn't return the favor and put his hand on the hilt of the sword. In order to convince you, I will only use sword skills. Shao Puhong immediately gritted his teeth. Humph, it's really infuriating. He will draw his sword immediately. The next second. Boom. A powerful momentum burst out, directly pressing on Shao Puhengda's body. In an instant, Shao Puhengda fell to his knees directly. My face turned red, but I couldn't get up at all. He couldn't even lift a finger. Too weak. Uchiha Kaide shook his head. Don't be embarrassed at this level. The momentum exploded, and Shao Puhengda was directly thrown off the ring by the momentum. So strong. At this moment, the warriors below looked serious. Shao Puhengda is already a good player, but he doesn't even have the ability to draw a sword in front of this man. I'll try. A man who was more conceited than Shao Puhong jumped up. Uchiha Kaide's pressure was still there. He gritted his teeth and withstood the pressure and pulled out the sword on his waist. But the next second, puff. I saw him looking up to the sky and vomiting a mouthful of blood, then fell directly into the ring and fell unconscious. The warriors below looked at each other, and one of them roared. Go together. Swish swish swish. In an instant, more than 10 samurai who were released and were at least Jonin jumped onto the ring. They worked together to resist Uchiha Kaide's pressure, roared and drew their swords to kill Uchiha Kaide. Get out of here. Uchiha Kaide raised his scabbard and swept away, and these people were instantly knocked away. He didn't even take out the sheath. Those people fell under the ring and even needed help from others to get up. Seeing this, Uchiha Kaide shook his head in disappointment. Is this the level of the Iron Kingdom? A hot-blooded young man suddenly couldn't bear Uchiha Kaide's contempt. He roared angrily. The honor of the warrior must not be trampled upon. Come on, everyone. Suddenly, the hundreds of strong men surrounding the ring were filled with murderous intent. The next second, just when they were all about to step onto the ring. Enough. An angry shout stopped their siege. The samurai turned around one after another, only to find that their leader Mifune had arrived. Mifune said seriously as he walked. The glory of the samurai does not depend on the number of people to win. If you lose, you will lose. A warrior's strength depends on his will. If you can't muster the courage to take action in the face of this man's momentum, it's because you don't have enough willpower. After saying that, he had already arrived under the ring. Let me show you the unyielding will of a samurai. With that said, he jumped onto the ring unaffected. Ellipsis. You are the Uchiha Kaide who is widely rumored in the ninja world, right? Mifune looked at Uchiha Kaide very calmly. The pressure that was enough to immobilize Junin and even elite Junin had no effect on him at all. One can imagine how firm this person's inner will is. Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. Compared to them, you are pretty good. Thanks for the compliment. Mifune was unfazed. Uchiha Kaide said, I once heard that you and Hanzo fought against each other during World War II. Although he lost in the end, Hanzo was moved by your will and let you go in the end. Mifune smiled a little. I'm honored to be recognized by Hanzo Senpai. The period when Hanzo was known as a demigod was the yearning of every warrior among them. Unfortunately, Mifune didn't know that Hanzo had lost the samurai's will to move forward at this time. He is already a useless person. Mifune breathed out, looked at Uchiha Kaide and asked seriously. The Kingdom of Iron has always been a neutral country and has never participated in the disputes in the ninja world. Your Excellency, you are not a good person here today. What is your reason? Kaide Uchiha smiled lightly and said, there is no such thing as neutrality in the ninja world right now. The country of fire is divided up, and the buffer zone between the country of grass and the country of Tang is now also occupied by the 3 major ninja villages. There is no need for a small country like yours to exist anymore. Even if I don't come to conquer them today, in 2 days after Union Village has conquered the small countries leading to the land of fire, they will raise their butcher's knife to you. Mifune's face was gloomy. He could certainly see through this. But for the glory of the samurai, he must maintain the existence of the kingdom of Wu no matter what. This is the last pure land of samurai. Kaide Uchiha seemed to see through Mifune's inner persistence, shook his head and said, whether you face me or Union Village, the fate of your iron country is doomed. He slowly pulled out the Jinghua Shui Yu from his waist. Doesn't your iron kingdom rely on swordsmanship to elect its leaders? I also use a sword, so I'm going to give you a decent. Mifune opened his mouth to deny what Kaide Uchiha said. If Kaide Uchiha was from the Iron Kingdom, he would only wish to have such a strong man to protect the Iron Kingdom. But Uchiha Kaide is a ninja. Swordsmanship is just one of his various methods. Seeing that Mifune wanted to refuse, Uchiha Kaide's expression turned cold instantly. Just take it if I want to show you dignity. Otherwise I don't mind massacring the Iron Kingdom first. Susanoo in the 3rd stage appeared instantly, and his huge momentum directly shocked everyone. If it weren't for the powerful warriors in the Iron Kingdom who all have an unyielding will, killing them would basically destroy the Iron Kingdom. Kaide Uchiha doesn't mind using blood to scare the Iron Kingdom into surrender. Such power. Mifune's eyes widened. If Uchiha Kaide were to attack with all his strength, they would not be able to stop him in their mortal form. Is this the true power of Uchiha, who has been famous for thousands of years? Uchiha Kaide looked at Mifune coldly. If you want to save the Iron Kingdom, defeat the sword in my hand. Mifune gritted his teeth. It seemed like this was his last chance. Holding the hilt of the sword with both hands, he roared at Uchiha Kaide, then come on. Susanoo dissipated, and Uchiha Kaide waited for Mifune's attack with his sword. Seeing this, Mifune rushed directly towards Uchiha Kaide. 7 swift slashes transformed into 7 sword shadows that instantly enveloped Uchiha Kaide. Uchiha Kaide curled his lips, it's so flashy. Kyoka Suigetsu slashed out instantly, accurately blocking Mifune's real attack. Then you can try mine too. The sword that shook my fun. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel E Away. Uchiha Kaide waved his hand, and dozens of sword shadows enveloped him. So fast. Mifune was startled and quickly searched for Kaide Uchiha's real attack in the shadow of the sword. However, he soon discovered that every sword shadow made his skin feel tingling. Wrong. These are all real attacks. Mifune was sweating profusely and immediately drew out his sword to intercept every sword shadow. But his speed was still too slow compared to Uchiha Kaide. After hastily stopping the 6 paths, the rest all hit his body. The sleeves on both arms were directly torn, leaving a bloody sword mark. And a long sword mark appeared on his chest. Mifune panted heavily and glanced at Uchiha Kaide with some gratitude. Thanks for showing mercy. Those sword shadows just now could have caused him to be seriously injured and dying in an instant, but at the last moment, he withdrew his strength. This leaves only these skin wounds. Kaide Uchiha said calmly, do you realize the gap? Mifune gritted his teeth and said, I have one last trick. Saying that, he quickly rushed towards Uchiha Kaide. The moment he got close to Uchiha Kaide, he used all his strength to strike at an extremely tricky angle. EI kills. After a brief attempt, he launched his strongest attack. The dazzling white sword light quickly struck Uchiha Kaide. Obviously, he wanted to decide the outcome with one blow. Uchiha Kaide's eyes flashed, and after seeing Mifune's intention, he instantly waved his sword with his backhand. Kyoka Suigetsu directly hit the weakest point of EI's slash. The next moment, the sword light was directly broken. Then, in Mifune's shocked eyes, Kyoka Suigetsu struck his sword. Click. The next second, Mifune's sword was cut off. What? Mifune's face was full of disbelief. His sword was forged by the most powerful swordsmith in the Iron Kingdom. Its strength is the strongest in the ninja world. At this moment, Mifune had to admire Uchiha Kaide's control of power. If he didn't concentrate all his strength on one point, it would be impossible for his sword to be cut off. Uchiha Kaide said calmly, "Do you still want to persist? If you are not convinced, I can give you a third chance to get a new sword." Mifune smiled bitterly. At that moment, he had already seen the gap between himself and Uchiha Kaide. So no matter how many times you try, the result will never change. I lost. Mifune calmly let go of the broken sword in his hand. The broken sword fell to the ground and made a crisp sound, as if it had hit the hearts of everyone below. Mifune, the strongest samurai in the Iron Kingdom, has given up. Uchiha Kaide swept towards the people below. From today on, I will rule the Kingdom of Iron. Who else is dissatisfied? No one spoke. The strongest among them were all eliminated with one move, and no matter how many others came up, they were just cannon fodder. What's more, Uchiha Kaide didn't use the ninjutsu that ninjas are best at. Especially Susanoo, who made them feel scared just by looking at him. Uchiha Kaide withdrew his gaze and looked at Mifune again. Within 3 days, I want the entire Iron Kingdom to have no voice against me. After seeing Uchiha Kaide's strength, Mifune has accepted his fate. I see. Uchiha Kaide looked at him and suddenly smiled. I'll be back in 3 days. I hope nothing unpleasant will happen to me. As he said that, his figure disappeared instantly. Mifune was silent for a moment, then suddenly turned to the people in the audience. Thump. Mifune knelt down and bowed down. Sorry, I failed to protect the Iron Kingdom. Everyone in the audience, whether they were ordinary people or warriors, were all moved at this moment. The passionate warrior couldn't help but say, Mifune-sama, you don't have to be like this. The worst we can do is fight that guy. I am willing to die to defend the dignity of the samurai. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Mifune stood up slowly. The young man didn't answer. He looked up at the sun that was gradually obscured by clouds and mist. Then he murmured, since the rise of ninjas, the Kingdom of Iron has persisted for too long. The situation in the ninja world has changed. In the past, the Iron Kingdom could remain neutral because of the mutual checks and balances between the major powers. But now this balance has been broken, so no one in power wants to see that there is a threatening place next to his own power. Even if Uchiha Kaide doesn't come today, Kumogakure will be watching us in a few days. The young people in the audience could not help but clench their fists. So we can only let others slaughter us. Mifune shook his head and sighed. In fact, this is also an opportunity given to us by Kaide Uchiha. He needs capable subordinates, so he chooses one person to conquer the Kingdom of Iron. If it were Union Village, they would directly choose to massacre us in order to prevent future troubles. Following Uchiha Kaide, we just lost the name of the Iron Country, but if we hit the Hidden Cloud Village, we would lose the legacy of the samurai. The samurai in the audience were speechless. A long time ago, the Kingdom of Iron was a paradise where a powerful samurai gathered a group of samurai who were unwilling to accept the ninja system and established a samurai paradise in this remote place. Therefore, there has never been a great name in the Iron Kingdom. The real leader is the strongest among the warriors. Therefore, the reason why the Iron Kingdom was established was to protect the legacy of the samurai. Now that Uchiha Kaide needs their strength, he will not let them give up the path of samurai and become ninjas. The legacy of the samurai has been preserved, and they are led by a strong man with invincible swordsmanship. This kind of understanding immediately made most people feel a lot more comfortable. Seeing this, Mifune on the stage also breathed a sigh of relief. Compared to whether the samurai can continue to pass on, the existence of the Iron Kingdom is really not important to him, and he has never cared about the false name of commander. Now that he has appeased this group of people, Kaide Uchiha will not go on such a killing spree that the legacy of the samurai will be cut off. Mifune is quite sober. In the air, unnoticed by everyone in the Kingdom of Iron, Kaide Uchiha showed a smile. Then the figure really disappeared. If Mifune chose to defy him, he would make these samurai completely disappear from the stage of history today. The Kingdom of Sound, a hidden cave underground. Lord Orochimaru. Kabuto Yakushi helped Orochimaru sit on the stone chair with a panicked look on his face. In his hand, he still held one of Orochimaru's severed hands. Uchiha Itachi is truly an enviable genius. Orochimaru gasped, but the greed on his face couldn't be suppressed at all. I didn't expect that even though I lost a Sharingan, he could still easily control me with Genjutsu. Such a powerful body is truly the most suitable carrier for the art of reincarnation. When Itachi was young, he had taken a fancy to Itachi's powerful talent. However, he soon left Konoha. But he never thought that he would actually see Itachi again in the Akatsuki organization. Although Itachi has lost one Sharingan, he is still the most perfect carrier Orochimaru has ever seen. After perfecting the art of reincarnation, he could no longer suppress his greed and chose to attack Uchiha Itachi. However, after only a moment of fighting, he was controlled by the power of Kaleidoscope's eyes. After all, it was because of studying the art of reincarnation that his soul was too weak. If Kabuto Yakushi hadn't appeared in the end, he probably wouldn't have had just one hand cut off. Kabuto Yakushi didn't answer, but said worriedly, "Orochimaru-sama, wait a moment, I will help you put your severed hand back together." Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel ITH. That said, he turned around to find medicine to reattach Orochimaru's severed hand. "Orochimaru, you are so embarrassed." At this moment, a strange voice suddenly sounded. Who? Orochimaru and Kabuto Yakushi were shocked at the same time. This was their most hidden secret base, and someone broke in without them noticing. Kaide Uchiha was not prepared to hide, and instantly appeared in the center of the secret room. "Are you, Kaide Uchiha?" Orochimaru's pupils shrank. This guy is even harder to deal with than Uchiha Itachi. Kabuto Yakushi also immediately assumed a fighting stance. Not paying attention to the two people's defenses, Uchiha Kaide looked around with great interest. "It's dark and humid, and it's a shameful experiment. This place is really suitable for you." Orochimaru signaled Yakushi Kabuto to get out of the way with his eyes, and then said hoarsely, "My place is extremely secluded and there is no way anyone could break in by chance. So, did Mr. Feng come to see me specially?" Uchiha Kaide nodded and said with a smile, "It's easy to talk to smart people." Orochimaru asked calmly, "Then what does Kaide-kun have to do with me?" Uchiha Kaide did not answer, but looked at Orochimaru with interest. This hand was Itachi's doing, right? Tisk tisk, after being forced to this extent by a traitor, you are really getting better and better. Orochimaru's expression changed. "How do you know?" Kaide Uchiha sneered, "I'm very familiar with the stomach-churning power left in you. To be controlled by such a simple pupil technique, it seems that you have perfected the technique of reincarnation." As soon as these words came out, Orochimaru was completely confused. The art of reincarnation was his biggest secret. How did Uchiha Kaide know about it? And the most important thing is, what does this technique have to do with him being controlled by Itachi? Seeing Orochimaru's confused expression, Uchiha Kaide smiled playfully. "It seems that you haven't discovered the disadvantages of the reincarnation technique yet." Orochimaru forcibly stabilized Bo's mood, looked at Uchiha Kaide and smiled. Indeed, I have just perfected this technique a few days ago. I wonder if Mr. Feng can explain it to me. Uchiha Kaide said lazily. The art of reincarnation allows the caster's soul to be reincarnated into new bodies. It is said to allow the caster to gain eternal life. It's a pity that there is no perfect ninjutsu in this world. As long as you start to perform this technique, the soul of the user will gradually be consumed until the soul of the user is completely extinct. At the same time, you cannot stop after performing this technique, and if the selected body is very repellent, the soul will be consumed faster. When Uchiha Kaide said this, Orochimaru's face suddenly became extremely ugly. It turns out that was the case. He said how could he be controlled by Itachi so easily? It turned out to be because his soul had begun to be consumed. Damn it, this shortcoming must be solved quickly. Orochimaru began to feel anxious. If he allows things to develop like this, he will probably have to kneel whenever he encounters illusions in the future, right? But the most important thing right now is to deal with Uchiha Kaide. This is an Uchiha who is even more talented and powerful than Itachi. Itachi could make him kneel with just one glance, maybe this guy could make him kneel with just one glance. Orochimaru said in a deep voice, "What's wrong with Kaide-kun coming here today?" When it came to business, Uchiha Kaide narrowed his eyes. Orochimaru, do you desire to know the truth about the world, desire for eternal life? Quote question mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Orochimaru's eyes widened. Uchiha Kaide said this. Could it be that he has mastered a better method of immortality than the method of reincarnation? Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Uchiha Kaide asked. Orochimaru, do you desire eternal life? Orochimaru smiled evilly. No, I long to become a woman. Orochimaru's rapid breathing vents his inner unrest. Eternal life. Who in the ninja world doesn't want to get it? You must know that even people like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara will be nothing more than a piece of loess after 100 years. Fengjun really keeps surprising me. Orochimaru licked his lips, the greed in his eyes clearly visible. If he hadn't known that he was no match for Uchiha Kaide, he would have really wanted to capture Uchiha Kaide and torture him. Having said that, there is no need to talk nonsense at this point. Uchiha Kaide said coldly, submit to me, and I will give you the method of eternal life. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, anger ignited in his heart. After all, he is a strong man who has been famous for a long time, and is known as Orochimaru, the Cold Lord of the Three Ninjas. The junior in front of me actually opened his mouth to surrender. Looking at Orochimaru's gloomy and uncertain expression, Uchiha Kaide suddenly sneered. Yo, you look very dissatisfied with your expression. Orochimaru said coldly. If you open your mouth to ask me to surrender, is Kaide-kun too arrogant? Arrogant? Uchiha Kaide shook his head. Isn't it true that in the ninja world, whoever has a bigger fist listens to whoever has it? In other words, do you think you have the strength to punish me? Orochimaru's face was livid. He was certainly no match for Uchiha Kaide. Uchiha Kaide said calmly, you are a good scientific research talent, and you may be of great use in the future, so I have been talking nonsense with you for so long. But your existence is not irreplaceable. Although it will be troublesome to find someone else, if you don't obey, I can only get rid of you. Saying that, Uchiha Kaide spread his hands. There are many secrets in this world, and there are many who are stronger than Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, but now they are all hidden in the dark. Follow me and you can get the eternal life you desire most and reach heights you dare not imagine. With the sacred tree, his life has reached eternity. But he is not alone. He also has those tribesmen who have been with him for more than 10 years. How to use the sacred tree to allow people to achieve immortality requires researchers like Orochimaru. This is also where Uchiha Kaide values Soshimaru. Stronger than the first generation and Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru didn't believe it, but Uchiha Kaide must have some basis for saying this. He quickly thought of the speculations he had made before. In order to obtain the method of eternal life, he searched through the ancient books of the ninja world and learned many secrets from them. Some of these things that seem like fantasy can eventually be proven in the ninja world. Okay, tell me your decision. Uchiha Kaide's look instantly made Orochimaru immersed in the illusion. Orochimaru looked at some of the pictures that appeared in the illusion. After a brief moment of fear, his inner excitement could no longer be suppressed. Ellipsis. Outside, Kabuto Yakushi looked at Orochimaru in panic as he closed his eyes and seemed to be asleep. Lord Orochimaru. Then he immediately looked at Uchiha Kaide warily, fearing that Uchiha Kaide would suddenly attack him. What have you done? Kaide Uchiha said calmly. Let him see part of the truth about the world. The next moment, Orochimaru woke up in the illusion world. He looked at Uchiha Kaide with hot eyes. Are those true? Without waiting for Uchiha Kaide to answer, he said excitedly. I'll go with you, please take me to see those mysteries. Kabuto Yakushi looked shocked for a moment. What did Orochimaru see? However, no one will explain to a little guy like him. After taking your hand, come to Taki Ninja Village to find me. After saying a few words, Uchiha Kaide instantly disappeared into the cave. Orochimaru closed his eyes, as if reliving the scene just now. But sensing Kabuto Yakushi's eyes full of curiosity, he smiled evilly and said, Get ready, a new era is about to emerge from the hands of. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel Uchiha Kaide. After leaving Orochimaru's base, Uchiha Kaide flew towards the border of the Kingdom of Sound. In order to find Orochimaru, he searched all over the Kingdom of Sound. At the same time, he also bumped into a troop. The troops of Union Village. Come to think of it, Union Village has already pacified other small countries, and then set its sights on the Kingdom of Sound. But Uchiha Kaide, the country of Sound, has long regarded it as something in his pocket. How can they get their hands on it? And most importantly, he felt the aura of the tailed beast in this army. If you want to take my land of Sound, then use your tailed beasts to make up for it. Uchiha Kaide sneered in her heart. Soon after, the troops from Union Village came into view. Facing the Sound country where Orochimaru has not yet established a Sound ninja village, Kumogakure village seems to be in an uninhabited land. In just a few moments, Kaide Uchiha and Orochimaru were talking, and they occupied less than half of the town in the country of Sound. And just when Uchiha Kaide was approaching, among the Union Village troops, the second tail in Yumu-ren suddenly shouted in horror. Yukito, a very scary guy is coming. He is here for you. It felt the aura of the 7 tails, 9 tails and divine tree in Uchiha Kaide. What? Yumu-ren was shocked. Is there anyone in this world who can scare away? Yukito immediately yelled at the repairing troops. All be alert, a powerful enemy is coming. The ninjas in Hidden Cloud Village instantly became vigilant, and one by one they picked up their weapons and began to explore the surrounding area. And in her body, after reminding Yumu-ren her way, she roared in her heart. Damn it, how could there still be a sacred tree now? Has that guy already sacrificed Chongming and Ju Lama? In this tense atmosphere, Uchiha Kaide fell from the sky. He glanced at the Union Village troops. Are you all ready? Your perception ability is pretty good. Yukito took a step forward and shouted to Uchiha Kaide vigilantly. Who are you? Kaide Uchiha looked at her. It turns out to be the second tail. Since you have invaded my country of Sound, let me use you to make amends. The proud Yumu suddenly gritted his teeth. What an arrogant guy. When did the Kingdom of Sound become yours? Our Union Village occupied it first, so naturally it belongs to our Union Village. Uchiha Kaide suddenly sneered. Then according to your statement, after you are solved, doesn't the Kingdom of Sound belong to me? The corner of Yukito's mouth twitched. This was the first time she saw someone more arrogant than their rakeage. Too lazy to talk nonsense, she waved her hand and ordered. Kill this guy. In an instant, dozens of Kumogakure ninjas attacked Uchiha Kaide. The rest of the people were watching the show with their arms folded. In their view, a mere enemy does not require them to spend a lot of effort. Dozens of people taking action together are enough to give them face. Yuki Ren opened his mouth, but still did not persuade him. She also wanted to see what the guy in front of her was capable of. Just a few people. I was really looked down upon. Uchiha Kaide shook his head and raised his hand to his mouth. Fire escape. The great fire is extinguished. In an instant, a sea of rolling fire that spread dozens of meters attacked the group of Union Village ninjas. What a powerful fire escape. Few people in Union Village are good at water escape, so they immediately chose to avoid it. Some jumped into the sky and prepared to cross the sea of fire, while others scattered and teleported outside the fire escape range. However, they were not happy for long. Roar. In an instant, dozens of fire dragons rushed out of the sea of fire. Each fire dragon locked onto a cloud ninja instantly, and then roared and rushed over. How can it be? The cloud ninjas widened their eyes in shock. The next second, those cloud ninjas were swallowed directly by the fire dragon. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. How can it be? Yukito stared blankly ahead. Just now, there were dozens of teammates there who spent time together day and night, but now they were all reduced to charcoal. Because she was reminded by her way, she knew that the guy in front of her was very strong. But she never expected that this guy would be so strong. One ninjutsu destroyed dozens of Union Village elites. You damn guy. Suddenly, Yukito gritted his teeth and looked at Uchiha Kaide. At the same time, she also began to quickly check the identity of Uchiha Kaide in her mind. He is so young and has such a powerful fire escape. Is it possible that he... In addition, this place is only separated from Taki country by the Kingdom of Iron. Soon, a name came to her mind. She immediately exclaimed, "Are you Kaide Uchiha?" Uchiha Kaide smiled lightly, "That's right. Little kitten, follow me obediently. Maybe I can be merciful and let go of the trash around you." Hearing this, before Yukito could speak, the other Kumogakure ninjas couldn't bear it anymore. Others are afraid of Uchiha Kaide's reputation, but they are not afraid of being from Hidden Cloud Village. No matter how powerful he is, can he still compare to their rakeage? Damn it, how dare you underestimate our Union Village? Kill him and avenge those teammates. The remaining 200 people went directly to Uchiha Kaide. Yumu Ren also roared, "We are also on board, Cha Brigade." The two tails in the body immediately provide support. In an instant, she was put on a dark red-tailed beast coat. Facing a legend like Kaide Uchiha, she must go all out. Otherwise, she and these teammates would be really in danger today. Kaide Uchiha smiled coldly, and then pointed at the group of cloud ninjas and stretched out his hand. A bunch of fish. The flames that had not been extinguished before soared into the sky and instantly formed a fire dragon nearly 100 meters long. The fire dragon looked up to the sky and roared, then roared into the crowd. What kind of ninjutsu is this? The cloud ninjas were frightened and began to avoid the fire dragon's attack in a panic. But there were still a few guys who were swallowed by the fire dragon and turned into charcoal and fell to the ground after a while. Suddenly, the formation of the cloud ninja troops was in chaos. Nowadays, Uchiha Kaide, who owns the sacred tree, can easily master all kinds of ninjutsu, and there is no need to form seals at all. Or in other words, he has converted 5 attributes into one ability. Control the elements like a magician. Even against most low-end shadows, they can easily defeat them. Yukito, who had already rushed over, was furious and directly struck Uchiha Kaide's head with a claw. "Asshole, go to hell." Uchiha Kaide curled his lips, "Don't come to dampen my interest." He grabbed Yumu Ren's arm accurately, rounded it up and threw it to the ground. The other hand was still happily controlling the fire dragon to attack the group of cloud ninjas. However, Yukito, who was protected by the tailed beast coat, was not in any serious trouble. He immediately broke free from Uchiha Kaide's arm and attacked again. But she found that Uchiha Kaide's hands were like iron pliers. No matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't get rid of them. In anger, she waved another sharp cat claw, trying to cut off Uchiha Kaide's arm directly. It's so vicious. Uchiha Kaide pulled his arm and instantly pulled Yukito into his arms, who was about to attack. What a naughty little kitten. As he said that, he took back the hand that controlled the fire dragon, and when he raised his hand, his brain collapsed. Boom. The next moment, Yumu Ren flew backwards as if he had been hit by a meteorite. Even with the protection of the tailed beast coat, her face was full of pain at this moment. When she stood up again, she was even a little shaky. How could this bastard be so strong? After stabilizing his body, Yukito looked at. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel T Uchiha Kaide in surprise. This guy actually suppressed her in tailed beast mode so easily. Moreover, a casual blow from the physical body is more powerful than the fourth Raikage's ninja technique. What kind of monster is this guy? At this time, the second tail in her body said seriously. Yukito, stop trying and go straight into perfection. Otherwise, we really have to explain it here today. Yukito also deeply understood the gap between her and Uchiha Kaide. Looking at his teammates in the distance, more than 50 people were still killed by the fire dragon. Facing the fire dragon, the cloud ninjas tried their best too. However, with their poor ninjutsu skills, the water escape instantly turns into steam. The earth escape can't last long before it turns into lava. Thunder release makes the fire dragon's attack even more ferocious. As for wind release and fire release, they dare not release them at all. Who knows how high that thing will elevate the fire dragon when it roars. Only by solving this guy can they be saved. No more hesitation, Yumu Ren instantly established contact with her way ideographic period. Suddenly, blue flames soared into the sky, and a pair of bright pupils opened in the flames. Enter the two-tailed ginseng. Yukito, who had completely transformed into a tailed beast, immediately rushed towards his teammates. The fire dragon that left Yun Nin helpless quickly turned into balls of flame and dissipated in the air under her brute force. Then she turned to look at Uchiha Kaide. Roar. After roaring, he raised his head and began to focus the tailed beast's strongest attack, the tailed beast Jade. Seeing this, Uchiha Kaide shook his head helplessly. Alas, I haven't had all the fun yet. Dark blue materialized chakra quickly enveloped him. Skeleton, cloth armor, armor. Susanoo first stage, second stage, third stage. 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters. A moment later, a 300-meter tall substantial chakra giant appeared. After 50 years, Susanoo's ultimate form reappears in the ninja world. Even though he was as tall as the two tails, he was as small as a newborn child in front of Kaide Uchiha's Susanoo. Is this really human power? The surviving Kumo ninjas all looked up in confusion at Susanoo, who was like a god. This giant seemed to be able to crush them all with just a lift of his feet. More than 300 meters, not bad. After closing his eyes and feeling the ultimate Susanoo, Uchiha Kaide nodded with satisfaction. Like Sasuke, Kakashi, and Kaide Uchiha in the original work, their Susanoos are only between 150 meters and 200 meters. As his pupil power far exceeds that of the ordinary eternal kaleidoscope, Susanoo under normal conditions can naturally far surpass them. Don't think this is exaggerated. You must know that when the Sage of Six Paths fought against the Ten Tails, the Susanoo he used was the same size as the Ten Tails. The Ten Tails is over 1,000 meters tall. I still haven't used the immortal mode yet. Uchiha Kaide was a little itchy and wanted to test how terrifying her full strength was at this moment. But facing the mere two tails, the ultimate body seems to be enough to give him face. Forget it, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Shrugging, Uchiha Kaide turned his attention to the two-tailed Yukito. At this time, Yumu Ren's tailed beast Jade has also been condensed. Looking at the 300-meter tall Susanoo, a trace of fear flashed in her pupils. But the tailed beast Jade is already her strongest attack at this time. She will try her best no matter what. Tailed beast Jade. With a roar, the tailed beast, which was as big as the two-tailed beast, rushed straight towards Uchiha Kaide. In response, Uchiha Kaide's Susanoo slowly pulled out his own sacred weapon, the soul-taming sword of Buto. Cut. Buto's sword of soul control was unsheathed, and he aimed it at the tailed beast in front of him and slashed it down. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. A sword light shines. Uchiha Kaide's Susanoo slowly sheathes his sword. The tailed beast Jade seemed to have encountered an insurmountable resistance and stopped in front of Susanoo. Without waiting for Yukito to panic, the next second. Click. A crisp sound sounded, and a white light instantly exploded from the inside of the tailed beast Jade. When the white light gradually faded away, the tailed beast Jade had already turned into two halves. The smooth cut is enough to prove how fast and powerful the sword was. Even the tailed beast Jade is like tofu in front of it. Bang! The tailed beast Jade that was cut in half fell straight to the ground. The boulders were crushed and countless trees were crushed. The sword strike just now annihilated all the energy inside it while cutting open the tailed beast Jade. This. Yukito looked at this scene in disbelief. That's a tailed beast Jade comparable to a natural disaster. Even though he couldn't defeat Kaide Uchiha, why was he so easily annihilated? Yumu Ren couldn't help but murmured, "If you can't beat him, I will definitely not be able to beat him." Ideographic period. Quote. Even if the fourth Raikage Sama comes, he won't be able to defeat this guy. After a brief daze, Yumu Ren turned to the group of cloud ninjas and roared. Run! Run! With that said, she turned into a tailed beast and quickly spread her limbs, turned around and ran away. Her roar also awakened the stunned group of cloud ninjas. At this moment, they no longer cared about the glory of Union Village and fled like bereaved dogs. Uchiha Kaide shook his head. Why do some people always think they can escape in front of me? Susanoo opened his palms, and Magatama formed in his palms. Magatama of Yasaka. With a wave of his arm, 9 Magatama shot towards all the cloud ninjas. Landing. Explosion. At this moment, the hills and woods were all swallowed up by the explosion. And none of those cloud ninjas could escape the scope of the explosion. The huge smoke and dust dispersed, and 9 huge craters appeared. All the Kumo ninjas were lying miserably in the pit, and their blood even gathered into a small pool at the bottom of the pit. Damn it! Yumu let out a mournful cry, seemingly mourning his dead teammates. But she can't stop, because she is also running for her life. Uchiha Kaide looked at Yukito's back as he was getting away. You are the only one left. Susanoo spread his wings and trembled, and in the next second he rushed towards the running two tails at extremely fast speeds. The two tails in Yukito's body suddenly shouted in horror. Yukito, go away, that guy is catching up. But less than a second after it was shouted out. Boom. Susanoo fell from the sky and landed straight in front of Yukito. The next moment, Susanoo stretched out his hand and grabbed Yukito's neck. Sure enough, wild cats must be tamed. Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. How about it, do you have fun? Yukito waved his limbs, but was slowly lifted up by Kaide Uchiha's Susanoo. You, bastard, Union Village, won't let you go. Uchiha Kaide smiled playfully. I hope that cloud-hidden village can come to seek death on its own. Hearing this, Yumu Ren struggled angrily again. However, the short legs she transformed into a tailed beast could not kick Susanoo's body. Okay, if you've had enough fun, just calm down. Susanoo started to exert force, and Yukito suddenly began to struggle painfully. After struggling for a moment, her two-tailed transformation began to fade away quickly, and she returned to her original body in the blink of an eye. Then, Yumu Ren fainted directly. Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of her mouth. It's time to start. Hiss, it hurts. Yumu op. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel ended his eyes dimly, and what he saw was grass and half of the blue sky. Ellipsis ellipsis. Yukito woke up suddenly. She had just been engaged in an extremely fierce battle and was completely crushed. She only remembered that she couldn't bear the pain and fell unconscious in Susanoo's hands. Then now. Where is Kaide Uchiha? Yukito is about to get up and take a look at the current situation. Suddenly, a black shadow completely enveloped her. Yumu Ren raised her head and saw a pair of giant hands reaching towards her. She panicked and wanted to get up and retreat, but her body suddenly gave her a weird feeling. And it was this moment of lag that caused her to be grabbed by those giant hands. "Oh, you are still very cute even when you are smaller." A familiar voice sounded, and then Yukito saw the familiar face of Kaide Uchiha. Wrong. Yukito's eyes widened. Why does Kaide Uchiha look so big? Meow. She opened her mouth to ask, but she let out a meow. Meow. What's the situation? Yuki Ren's eyes widened, and then he subconsciously turned his head and glanced. Meow meow meow. Bastard, what did you do to me? She actually still maintains the appearance of the second tail, but has shrunk hundreds of times. It looks like a pet cat. Uchiha Kaide also noticed Yukito's struggle, and he couldn't help but said in surprise. Huh. You don't seem to be Mataru, you are, Yukito. Meow. Bastard. Yumu Ren screamed in grief and indignation. Kaide Uchiha held up the cute two tails Yukito and marveled. It seems that Yulf is not that honest. While Yukito was unconscious, Uchiha Kaide had a conversation with the two tails sealed in her body. When he asked Ulv to be his pet, Matabari roared at Uchiha Kaide. Asshole. I will die here today, being used as a puppet by you, immersed in illusion for the rest of my life. I won't agree to be your pet either. Then Uchiha Kaide showed it some interesting pictures. Yulu said righteously in an instant, actually, being a pet is quite good. It won't be too difficult for you, right? No, no. Don't force it. Don't force it, don't force it. As a tailed beast, Matabari can be resurrected even after being killed for 3 years. But if it is swallowed by the 10 tails, it will be a complete death. So after knowing Uchiha Madara's plan, he instantly became extremely honest. And then there was this scene now. But perhaps due to inner shame, although Yulu turned into a pet cat, he did not let his consciousness take over his body. It directly released Yumu Ren's consciousness to replace it. And in order not to ruin Kaide Uchiha's experience, it also blocked Yukito's ability to speak, turning all her cries into meows. Meow meow meow. You bastard again. Yukito's struggle instantly became extremely intense. At that moment, the second tail informed Yukito that it agreed to be Uchiha Kaide's pet. Then he instantly cut off contact with Yumu Ren. After a brief moment of sluggishness, Yumu Ren was filled with grief and anger. She actually became the pet of the enemy Kaide Uchiha. Why did Yulu trick her like this? Then Yukito thought of the strength shown by Kaide Uchiha, and felt that his future was dark. Will she become Uchiha Kaide's pet in her arms for the rest of her life? She can't accept it. Stop making trouble. Uchiha Kaide flicked Yukito's head, and she instantly curled up holding her head. After becoming a pet cat, she can no longer use all means of resistance. The only special thing is that it can't be broken no matter what. Afterwards, Uchiha Kaide's powerful palms will be firmly held in Bakuto's arms. Forget it, it doesn't matter whose consciousness it is. Little kitten, follow your master home. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Orochimaru's secret base. At this time, Orochimaru had regained his severed hand thanks to his incredible technology. Go and collect the useful information, the rest will be burned. I can't wait to visit Taki Ninja Village. Orochimaru ordered Yakushi Kabuto with an expectant look on his face. Yakushi Kabuto nodded and asked, what about those experimental subjects? Orochimaru smiled coldly. They're just a bunch of losers who can't even survive the first phase of the experiment. Kill them. As he spoke, he seemed to have thought of something, and then said, by the way, you have to bring Chongwu with you. He still has great research value. At this time, Uchiha Kaide's voice suddenly sounded. Has the broken hand been reattached? As expected of you. After solving the hidden cloud village, Uchiha Kaide returned to Orochimaru with his little pet in his arms. Lord Maple. Orochimaru smiled. After reading those things, I am looking forward to it now. Every time it slows down, my heart feels itchy like a cat scratching. With that said, he turned around and looked at Uchiha Kaide. Then the next second his pupils shrank. This is, way. Uchiha Kaide touched the kitten's head. Ah, the little pet I just picked up. Orochimaru licked his lips. How long has it been? Lord Feng's strength is really unexpectedly strong. Even the unruly-tailed beast becomes so docile in your hands. Kabuto the pharmacist on the side also had a look of awe. That is a tailed beast that is regarded as a natural disaster. In the hands of Uchiha Kaide, he turned out to be as well behaved as a real cat. Uchiha Kaide said calmly, "Stop talking nonsense, I just heard you talking about Jugo." Orochimaru smiled and said, "Ken-kun knows about him." Uchiha Kaide did not answer, but directly ordered, "Take me to see." Orochimaru, who had been frightened by Kaide Uchiha, was also very well behaved and quickly stretched out his hand and said, "Please." At this stage, Orochimaru does not have as many secret bases as in the original work. Jugo is also in this place right now. Under the leadership of Orochimaru, Uchiha Kaide quickly approached the cage where Jugo was imprisoned. Roar. Boom. 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 Waves of low roars echoed in the passage, accompanied by waves of muffled sounds, as if there were some terrifying monsters inside. However, Uchiha Kaide was not affected at all. Sensing the familiar energy, his eyes lit up. Such rich natural energy. He quickened his pace, and Zongwu's figure suddenly appeared in front of him. At this time, Jugo had already fallen into a rage, smashing everything around him crazily. He looked like a monster. Rich natural energy is constantly spurting out from his body. Kill you. Seeing someone coming, he immediately rushed towards Uchiha Kaide and the others. Seeing this, Uchiha Kaide couldn't help but shook his head. It's a pity that you don't know how to control this energy. Holding the kitten in one hand, the other hand flexes and stretches. The next second, Jugo seemed to have bumped into Uchiha Kaide's hand. Then, boom. Kaide Uchiha flicked his finger, and Jugo flew back into the air. It hit the wall, forming a huge human pit. Well. Jugo let out a low roar of pain, and then looked at Uchiha Kaide and the others in confusion. Big, Lord Orochimaru. Then he glanced around and smiled bitterly. It seems I've lost control again. Orochimaru licked his lips, unable to suppress the shock on his face. Uchiha Kaide's finger actually directly dispersed the out-of-control natural energy in Jugo's body. But Orochimaru quickly came to his senses, looked at Uchiha Kaide and introduced. He is Kaide Uchiha, your future leader. He was the one who stopped you from losing control just now. Although Jugo was Su. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel RPRISED. That Orochimaru recognized him as his master, he still bowed politely to Uchiha Kaide. Thank you, Chief. Kaide Uchiha glanced at Orochimaru. You found a good treasure. If Zongwu could control the natural power in his body, his future achievements would be absolutely terrifying. At least she's much stronger than the original Tsunade. It's a pity that he didn't reach this point until the end of Naruto. He would turn into a monster as soon as he used the power of nature. However, in the Boruto spin that couldn't be ignited, Orochimaru seemed to have developed a sage mode that would not lose control, and Jugo probably played a big role in it. This interests Uchiha Kaide. Although he has mastered the perfect level of immortal mode, if he wants to pass it on to every clan member, he must always stand aside while they practice. If Orochimaru had developed Jugo's sage mode earlier with his help, the clansmen would have been able to master it quickly. Go to Taki Ninja Village and study him carefully. After leaving these words, Uchiha Kaide stopped paying attention to Jugo. He looked at Orochimaru and said, "Where is Ruchi Cave? Take me there." During this time, Uchiha Kaide felt an inexplicable sense of urgency in his heart. But there is nothing in the current ninja world that can threaten him head-on, and that guy Black Zetsu is far behind. Then he thought of those people at Otsutsuki, and the real person hidden behind the scenes, the Sage of Six Paths. Facing such an enemy, Uchiha Kaide still has a lot to do. And right now, the fastest thing that can greatly increase his strength is the Divine Tree. Therefore, without destroying the ninja world, the three holy places are the best places for the growth of sacred trees. He is going to attack the three holy saints. Orochimaru looked at Uchiha Kaide with some doubts, but he channeled a big snake immediately. Enter its mouth and it will take us there. However, Uchiha Kaide looked at Orochi with disgust. He couldn't do such a disgusting thing. No need. When Orochimaru channeled Orochimaru, he instantly locked onto the opponent through space fluctuations. The kaleidoscope turned on, and the divine power instantly opened the space passage to Longdi Cave. Then Uchiha Kaide stepped directly into the space ability. Orochimaru glanced at the space passage with envy. Then he looked at Yakushi Kabuto and said, "Take Jugo and the information to Takanon village, you don't have to wait for us." After saying that, he immediately followed and entered the space channel. In the Longdi Cave, the White Snake Immortal suddenly opened his eyes. "Immortal, what's wrong?" Snake Girl, who was serving on the side, immediately stepped forward and asked. White Snake Sage said slowly, "It's Orochimaru, and he also brought a strong man who I can't see clearly." The three great snake girls were shocked. "You can't even see through it." Immortal White Snake shook his head and then said, "Go and set a test. No matter who comes here, they must abide by my rules." After saying that, it closed its eyes again. A strong man who cannot see through. So what? It is an immortal, who has lived for thousands of years. What weird ninjutsu has not been seen in the ninja world? Even the original Six Paths Immortal was only taught by his contemporary Toad Immortal, so he had to call him Senior when he saw it. The three Snake Queens took the order and immediately flew to their respective levels. Suddenly, thick fog rose in three locations, and soon spread to the entire Longdi Cave. On the other side, Uchiha Kaide, who came to Ruchi Cave, nodded with satisfaction. "Oh, this is really a good place for planting. White Snake Immortal, it should be a good nutrient for the sacred tree." Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Uchiha Kaide closed her eyes and felt the Fanlong Cave. At this time, he is no longer in the ninja world. To be precise, he has come to a different space that is vassal to the ninja world. Kaide Uchiha thought thoughtfully. It seems that the so-called three holy places are three different spaces with very rich natural energy. This is fine. Even if we use the sacred tree to destroy this place, it will not affect the survival of the ninja world. On the side, Orochimaru was shocked when he heard Uchiha Kaide muttering before. "Is Mr. Feng going to attack Longdi Cave?" Uchiha Kaide glanced at him. "Why, you can't bear it." No. Orochimaru shook his head repeatedly. "It's just that the White Snake Immortal of Longdi Cave is a creature that has survived from the Six Paths era to this day. The natural energy in its body is very powerful, and it is good at soul attacks. It is said that it is close to transforming into a dragon. Even though I had not yet practiced the art of reincarnation, I wanted to capture it and study it, but I was controlled by it in an instant." Uchiha Kaide suddenly sneered. "Dragon, does it deserve it? It's just an old beast that has lived a long time, and the natural energy in its body is just the nourishment for my sacred tree." Orochimaru opened his mouth and was speechless for a while. To him, both Uchiha Kaide and White Snake Sage are far stronger than him. But thinking about seeing the battle between these two strong men soon, he couldn't help but feel excited. Orochimaru immediately said, "Let me introduce the creatures in Ruchi Cave to Mr. Kaide. There are many giant snakes here, but most of them can only threaten Junin. Including my psychic beast 10,000 snakes, there are only 2 or 3 that can threaten the shadow level." However, when White Snake Senin sat down, there were also 3 snake girls, Tienshinshinheim, Ikikijima-heim, and Sunjinheim. They are responsible for selecting the humans who enter Ruchi Cave. Their strength is much stronger than mine, and they are all beings who can transform into human forms. Uchiha Kaide smiled. "So apart from that white snake, it's just a bunch of fish." Orochimaru was speechless for a moment. Uchiha Kaide said calmly, "Let's go and see these so-called three holy places." He could sense that three guys with strong natural energy had appeared in front of him. They must be the three great snake ladies, right? Kaide Uchiha walked into the depths of Ruchi Cave in an instant, and the hissing snakes beside him did not affect him at all. Soon, the passage came to a corner, and a dazzling light shined at the corner. After turning around, what came into view was a huge and gorgeous palace, and the aroma of food continued to float towards the two of them. "Mr. Feng, this is..." Orochimaru wanted to introduce him, but Uchiha Kaide spoke. He raised the corners of his mouth, his eyes full of disdain. Playing genjutsu in front of Uchiha. The kaleidoscope opened instantly, his left eye glared, and Amaterasu, the pupil technique originated from Fugaku, activated. In an instant, the palace in front of him was swallowed up by the black Amaterasu. Those seemingly delicious foods turned into a pile of rotten snake meat in an instant. Damn humans. After a painful roar, a figure flew out of Amaterasu in an instant. However, her body has also been stained with Amaterasu, and no matter how hard she slaps it, it cannot be extinguished. In desperation, she had to slough immediately to get rid of Amaterasu's burning. The crack started from the center of her eyebrows and spread to the soles of her feet in an instant, and then she immediately broke out of her old skin to reveal her new body. And the old skin that was shed was instantly burned away by Amaterasu. She floated above and looked at Uchiha Kaide coldly. "He is such a hard-to-like guy." Uchiha Kaide looked at her with a smile. "You are Tien Shinji, right?" Snort. Tien Shinji snorted and did not answer Uchiha Kaide. "Even if you pass this level." Saw. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel, Ying That. She immediately flew back to the White Snake Immortal to report. Uchiha Kaide narrowed his eyes. "Did I let you go?" The next moment, his figure appeared in front of Tien Shinji ideographic period. As soon as she stretched out her arm, Tien Shinji was grabbed by the neck by Uchiha Kaide before she could react. "She has good strength, and her appearance is also a sign. You can be my maid from now on." Rude. Tien Shinji's eyes suddenly widened. She is the maid of the White Snake Immortal, and even a mere human wants to serve her. Seeing that she couldn't break free from Uchiha Kaide's hand, her eyes immediately widened, and huge mental power suddenly poured into Uchiha Kaide's mind. Too weak. Uchiha Kaide shook his head. The kaleidoscope power exploded, and Tien Shinji's mental power was swallowed up in an instant. Looking at Tien Shinji with a pained expression, Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, "Then let's deal with the white snake first and then I'll teach you." The sealing technique instantly spread from his arm to Tien Shinji's body, and Tien Shinji immediately lost control of her body. Uchiha Kaide let go of her hand. Tien Shinji immediately fell freely and hit the ground. Next. Without looking at her again, Uchiha Kaide quickly flew to the next level. Orochimaru in the back glanced at Tien Shinji, who was controlled in an instant, and swallowed in fear. Then he didn't dare to neglect and immediately kept up with Uchiha Kaide's pace. Uchiha Kaide entered a cave again. After flying to the bottom, a bumpy boulder blocked the way ahead. After taking a look, he instantly understood the function of this boulder. Is chakra needed to fill these holes? Naturally, Uchiha Kaide would not follow the rules. He gently put his hand on the boulder. Click, click, click. The next moment, dense cracks burst out from under his palm, until they spread to the entire boulder. Boom. The boulder exploded with a bang. Can it still be like this? Ikikishimahime's eyes widened behind the boulder. This boulder was created by her using the magic of Longdi Cave. It is as hard as steel. But he was instantly shattered by this guy in front of him. At this moment, she understood the definition of strong in the White Snake Immortal's mouth. However, as soon as she came back to her senses, she found that Kaide Uchiha instantly appeared in front of her. You should also accompany your little sister. Grabbing Ikikishimahime's neck, the same sealing technique bound her body. The last one. Soaring into the sky again, aiming for the final hurdle. And long after he left, Orochimaru finally arrived here. Glancing at the restrained Ikikishimahime, Orochimaru couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. Uchiha Kaide wouldn't just open the Ruchi cave like this, would he? At this time, Uchiha Kaide had already arrived at the place where Tatsuhime was. Passed both of their levels so quickly. Chuanjinji looked at Uchiha Kaide in surprise. In terms of speed of clearance, Uchiha Kaide is the first person she has seen in thousands of years. Then she smiled and said, "But, my level is different from theirs. What they tested was their will and chakra capacity, but what I tested was my true strength." With that said, she flew towards Uchiha Kaide in an instant. Opening his mouth wide, he was about to give Uchiha Kaide a bite on his neck. "Don't be so hasty." Kaide Uchiha raised the corner of his mouth, quickly stretched out his hand to grab it, and directly grabbed Tatsuhime firmly in his hand. "Although I really want to play this tune with you, I still want to wait for me to deal with that white snake first." The sealing technique began to satisfy Chuanjinji's whole body. Taking advantage of the last bit of control over her body, Tatsuhime looked at Kaide Uchiha in shock and said, "Are you here for the white snake immortal?" Uchiha Kaide said calmly, "It has lived for more than 1,000 years, and it has wasted too many resources. Just perfect for my nourishment. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis." After hearing Uchiha Kaide's purpose, Chuanjinji suddenly laughed. "You won't succeed. You can't imagine how powerful White Snake Immortal is." Before she could finish speaking, she was completely sealed. Uchiha Kaide turned her face to look at him. "You can't imagine how powerful I am." Letting go of her hand, Chuanjinji immediately fell to the ground. At this time, the panting Orochimaru finally caught up with Uchiha Kaide. After glancing at Orochimaru, Uchiha Kaide said, "Let's go. Let's go see what this shameless snake is capable of. The main hall where the White Snake Immortal lives is just ahead." When Kaide and Uchiha came in, he was lying lazily on the chair. It wasn't until the two of them walked in that it proudly opened its eyes. It looked at Orochimaru and said, "Orochimaru, you brought a nice little guy this time." It could sense everything that happened in Ruchi Cave, so it also saw the scene of Uchiha Kaide instantly subduing the three great snake girls. Although I couldn't hear what was said between them, it did not affect the arrogance of the White Snake Immortal at all. Those three snake queens were just enlightened by her. If they want to subdue them, they only need to have a thought. Then, White Snake Sage's eyes left Orochimaru and shifted to Uchiha Kaide. "Come here, little guy. Let me see if you can withstand the power of our Dragon Earth Cave." As he spoke, the White Snake Immortal opened his mouth and exposed his fangs. "Anyone who can get here will be bitten by it and injected with natural energy. If that person can endure it, he can learn the immortal mode. If it can't bear it, it will swallow him into its mouth without hesitation." Compared with the methods taught by Miaomu Mountain, the White Snake Sage can be said to be extremely cruel. Over the past 1,000 years, it has eaten countless ninjas who have entered Ruchi Cave. That is to say, Orochimaru is a special guy. At the moment when the natural energy in his body went out of control after being bitten, he used a secret technique to restore his sanity. Otherwise, he would not have been able to escape the devouring of the White Snake Sage. Looking at Uchiha Kaide in front of him, greed emerged in the heart of the White Snake Sage for the first time. This guy must be very delicious. It has decided to inject more natural energy into Uchiha Kaide when biting him. Then you can eat this guy naturally. However, just as it was getting closer and closer to Uchiha Kaide, Uchiha Kaide raised his head and looked at it coldly. He could naturally sense the malice that White Snake Sage had towards him. "Are you too self-righteous?" When White Snake Sage was still stunned by Uchiha Kaide's words, a blue arm instantly held its 7 inches. "I have never noticed the garbage power of your Longdi Cave. Uchiha Kaide's eyes were instantly wrapped in golden eye shadow. Perfect level of immortal mode. The White Snake Immortal was suddenly shocked. The natural energy in Uchiha Kaide's body is as pure as it has been for thousands of years. Moreover, Uchiha Kaide's Sage Mode does not have the slightest aura of their three holy places. It stared at Uchiha Kaide. Who the hell are you? Uchiha Kaide curled his lips. Dead people don't need to know so much. Susanoo exerted his strength, and White Snake Sage was instantly crushed by him. But the next second, the body of the White Snake Immortal instantly turned into countless small snakes, and then quickly swam away to regroup in the distance. Uchiha Kaide looked at Orochimaru. Orochimaru could do this trick too. Tisk, it turns out you got inspiration from this guy too. Orochimaru chuckled. Although I haven't learned Sage Mode, I still retain a lot of its natural energy in my body. The reaction of the two people immediately ang. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Erd the White Snake Immortal. Asshole, this is not the place for you to chat. Go to hell. It opened its mouth and spat out, and a small transparent snake rushed out and was suspended in the control. Waves of fluctuations visible to the naked eye came from the little snake. At this moment, the entire Longdi cave began to shake violently. Uchiha Kaide frowned deeply. He felt that his soul was trembling, as if he was about to be shattered by this wave. White Snake Immortal is worthy of being an antique who has lived for thousands of years. His soul power can actually suppress his current spiritual pressure. However, the next second, the mirror on Uchiha Kaide's waist instantly emitted a dazzling white light. The little snake's soul-shattering fluctuations were just resolved by Jinghua Shui Yu. Impossible. The White Snake Immortal was shocked. Its attack is specifically aimed at the soul. Coupled with the natural energy it has condensed for thousands of years, the guy in front of him should fall to his knees in an instant. Involuntarily, it looked at the shining mirror on Kaide Uchiha's waist. It's that sword. Uchiha Kaide is fine, but Orochimaru on the side is miserable. Without any means of protection, he fell to his knees in an instant, covering his head. He endured the pain and yelled at Uchiha Kaide, "Kaide-kun, I'm afraid I can't stay here anymore." Saying that, he was about to leave using the counter-spiritual technique he had prepared. But Uchiha Kaide will not ignore his newly acquired subordinate. "You'd better continue to stay here." Jinghua Shui Yu instantly unsheathed her sword, and then a dazzling sword light slashed directly at the little snake. The next moment, the little snake was cut into two pieces by the sword light. The fluctuation ended, and Orochimaru quickly took a deep breath. White Snake Sage looked deeply at Uchiha Kaide. "It seems like you, little guy, have a lot of secrets. When I capture you, I must torture your soul." As it spoke, its body began to expand instantly. The body that turned out to be more than 10 meters long reached hundreds of meters in a moment, and the main hull was directly destroyed by it. "Go to hell." Then, he waved his tail directly and hit Uchiha Kaide in the hull. "Get out of here." Uchiha Kaide controlled Susanoo and slapped Orochimaru away with one palm, and then Susanoo quickly changed. In the blink of an eye, Susanoo's ultimate form reappears. The 100-meter-long White Snake Sage looked like a toy in front of Susanoo at this moment. Uchiha Kaide controlled Susanoo to grab the White Snake Sage's tail, then pulled it up and threw it to the side. Roar! Damn it! The White Snake Immortal screamed in pain, with countless expressions of hatred in his eyes. The next second, its body grew bigger again. Then following Susanoo's arm, he suddenly wrapped the entire Susanoo. His body began to tighten, and White Snake Sage actually crushed Susanoo directly. For a moment, Susanoo couldn't even move his arms. Seeing this, Uchiha Kaide smiled instead. Soaked in natural energy for thousands of years, this body is really tough. But don't forget, I can also do immortal mode. In an instant, Uchiha Kaide controlled the natural energy to flow into Susanoo. Susanoo actually began to expand again after reaching a height of 300 meters. and Susanoo's empty body began to be gradually filled with white natural energy. The armor on his face flipped up, revealing a face made of natural energy similar to Uchiha Kaide. A new Susanoo mode that has never been seen in the original work appears. Immortal Method Susanoo. At this time, Susanoo's body had already reached 500 meters. In just an instant, the white snake sage wrapped around Susanoo was broken into countless pieces. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Blood. The sky is full of blood. This time, the white snake immortal was really hit hard. The snake blood, which contains rich natural power, fell to the ground like raindrops. The originally lifeless Longdi cave suddenly became full of life. Looking at the still struggling severed head of the white snake sage, Uchiha Kaide said lightly. What other means do you have? You won't really live like a dog in this 1,000 years, will you? Damn it! The white snake immortal looked up to the sky and cried out in pain. The next second, those broken bodies instantly turned into countless small snakes, and then swarmed towards its upper body again. After a while, the white snake immortal recovered as before. It's just that this time, its aura has become much weaker, and even the natural energy in the body is not as strong as before. Raising the snake's head, the white snake sage roared at Uchiha Kaide. Don't underestimate me, I am an immortal. Immortal? Uchiha Kaide sneered. Do you think you, a stinking snake, deserve to call yourself an immortal? The white snake immortal roared angrily. Damn it, I haven't released all my strength yet. Immortal Method. Inorganic Reincarnation. In an instant, Longdi Cave was shaken. Uchiha Kaide stood inside Susanoo's forehead and could already see the whole view of Ruchi Cave. This area is full of lifeless mountains, and above your head is nothingness. At this time, those high mountains began to tremble, and then began to gather together like living fluids. In the blink of an eye, a stone man comparable to Susanoo rose from the ground. Kaide Uchiha saw through this technique at a glance. Giving life to inorganic objects and controlling them is a good ability. White Snake Sage ignored Uchiha Kaide and immediately controlled the stone man to attack. Hung! 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 The stone man waved his fist and ran towards Susanoo, leaving a huge crater on the ground with every step he took. However, Uchiha Kaide's Susanoo remained unmoved at all. Until the stone man approached, Susanoo easily crouched down to avoid its fist. Kaide Uchiha smiled coldly. A bulky piece of garbage can only deal with some garbage. Hold the sword and unsheath it. White light shines, and Budu's soul-controlling sword instantly sweeps across the stone man's waist. The next second, the stone man exploded. How can it be? The white snake immortal's eyes widened. The giant summoned by this guy in front of me can actually move with such agility. Gradually, memories from thousands of years ago began to flood into my mind. White Snake Sage was immediately shocked and said, "This is the Susanoo of that boy of 6 paths." Back then, the Sage of 6 Paths defeated the complete 10 Tails with his Susanoo. Although this battle was started by the 3 holy places, they were also shocked by the battle that lasted for 3 months. But now, it actually has to face this force. Although Kaide Uchiha's Susanoo is not as good as the Sage of 6 Paths, it is still enough to make him fearful. Uchiha Kaide looked at the frightened white snake sage. It seems you have no other tricks, so go to hell. He finally saw clearly this so-called immortal. In addition to being full of natural energy, he is still a beast. Big. His Susanoo is even bigger. Mentally strong. It has no effect in front of Jinghua Shuiyu. Let alone him, Hashirama, and Uchiha Madara. Even if Nagato comes, he can get rid of this guy with all his tricks. The immortal of 6 paths would be deceived by that beast from Mount Miaomu. It seems that this is nothing more than that. Saying that, Susanoo walked towards White Snake Sage step by step. The fear on immortal White Snake's face was even worse. No, I alone can't beat this guy. Run! I have to find Todemaru and Slug to join forces. Without any hesitation, the white snake immortal immediately turned himself into countless little snakes. Want to run? However, the next second, Susanoo flapped his wings and came directly in front of it. He raised the sword of Budo Soul Co. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Entral High and nailed it to the ground with one strike. Damn it, I can't differentiate anymore. The white snake immortal was instantly enveloped in great despair. Uchiha Kaide's sword contained his own natural energy, which directly disrupted the natural energy in White Snake Sage's body. At this moment, it can no longer perform differentiation and avoidance. Kaide Uchiha jumped up and jumped directly from Susanoo's forehead to the head of White Snake Sage. Raise your right hand high. Be the first nutrient for my sacred tree. Psychic. Sacred tree. Boom. After the huge smoke passed, the sacred tree that blocked the sky directly suppressed the White Snake Immortal. The roots of the sacred tree penetrated into the body of the White Snake Immortal, and spread inside his body in just an instant. Immortal White Snake suddenly looked up to the sky and screamed in pain. Ah tilde. Damn it, why do you have a sacred tree? Spare me. It can feel that the endless natural energy in its body is beginning to be absorbed crazily by the sacred tree. At this speed, I'm afraid it will turn into a dead snake in just a few minutes. In a life and death crisis, it chose to lose face and beg for mercy from Uchiha Kaide. If you don't want to kill me, let this sacred tree stop. I would like to be your psychic beast. Kaide Uchiha said calmly, you don't deserve it. With no hope of survival, White Snake Sage immediately cursed Uchiha Kaide. You bastard junior, you must die a good death. With something as ominous as the sacred tree, the Six Paths boy will not let you go. Hearing this, Uchiha Kaide suddenly smiled coldly. He and the immortal of Six Paths were destined to be on opposite sides in the future. If he doesn't come to me, one day I will come to him. Ignoring White Snake Sage's scolding, Uchiha Kaide closed his eyes and began to feel the changes in the sacred tree. The natural energy stored by the White Snake Immortal for thousands of years directly accelerated the growth of the sacred tree dozens of times. If 2 more animals are sacrificed, plus the rich natural energy of the 3 holy places. Even if the sacred tree cannot mature, it is enough to make his bloodline ascend. Touching his eternal kaleidoscope, Uchiha Kaide murmured. It's almost here, just wait for me, old man Six Paths. After a few minutes of roaring, the natural energy in White Snake Immortal's body was completely absorbed. Without the blessing of natural energy, its weak vitality was instantly swallowed up by the sacred tree. When the wind blows, the body of the White Snake Immortal immediately turns into dust and dissipates. Then the roots of the sacred tree penetrated into the underground of Longdi Cave and began to crazily absorb the natural energy of this alien space. In a few days, Yongdi Cave, a sacred place that has been passed down for thousands of years, will disappear into thin air. White Snake Immortal is dead. Orochimaru stared blankly at the sacred tree. At this moment, he truly understood Uchiha Kaide's previous words. The power of ninja is really nothing in this vast universe. Susanoo gradually dissipated, Uchiha Kaide waved, and Yukido, who had been thrown away by him before, immediately jumped into his arms uncontrollably. Uchiha Kaide couldn't help but knock Yukido's head. Are you still thinking of running away? It seems that after I go back, I still have to teach you, this little kitten. Yuki closed her eyes in despair. She had seen the battle just now. With such a powerful force, she might never be able to escape Uchiha Kaide's control in her entire life. Holding Yukido in his arms, he teleported to Orochimaru. Let's go, you can go back. Orochimaru immediately nodded eagerly and looked at Uchiha Kaide with even more intense eyes. Whatever height he can reach next will probably depend on this person. Kaide Uchiha was about to use his pupil technique to leave, but suddenly he felt as if something was missing. By the way, there are also those 3 snake girls. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. At this time, the 3 snake girls were already confused. The white snake immortal who they thought was like a god died in front of their eyes like this. Where did this guy come from? With such strength, are they really those weak humans in their impression? The three snake girls fell into isolation. Even if Kaide Uchiha has untied their bonds, they can't think of revenge at all. Looking at the three snake girls, Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. You have two choices now. Either die with your white snake immortal, or come and be my maid. The three snake girls were refreshed and couldn't help but look at each other. Is it hard to choose? Uchiha Kaide narrowed his eyes, and a huge murderous aura suddenly enveloped the three snake girls. Not daring to hesitate at all, the three snake queens immediately knelt down on the ground. Owner. Snakes are cold-blooded creatures. The white snake immortal is already dead. They are crazy enough to bury her with her. Besides, the new master in front of them is so powerful, it is an honor for them to follow him. Remember, my name is Uchiha Kaide. With his eye power activated, Uchiha Kaide and everyone left Ruchi Cave in an instant. Just pay attention to the sacred tree greedily absorbing the energy of this world. Returning to his home in Takanan village, Uchiha Kaide found circles of people surrounding him. Brother Feng, you are finally back. Uchiha Izumi ran forward and threw herself into Uchiha Kaide's arms. Do you know, your tree suddenly disappeared. Yukito, who was squeezed between the two, had a look of resentment on his face. Damn tablet. She was so panicked. But this is no wonder Izumi Uchiha, she is only 13 years old after all. Uchiha Kaide touched Uchiha Izumi's head with her other hand, and then glanced at the clan members around the circle. Don't worry, I've planted it elsewhere for the time being and it will be back in a few days. The surrounding tribesmen then left and began to busy themselves with the work at hand. Then Uchiha Kaide looked at the Great Elder again. It's done, I'll go find you later. Ideographic period. Quote. The Great Elder nodded and left with a smile on his face. Of course he also saw the three beauties behind Uchiha Kaide. But in his opinion, the more Uchiha Kaide looks for, the better. Kaide Uchiha is so powerful, the offspring he will produce will definitely be the backbone of the Uchiha clan. As for Orochimaru, although he was a little surprised, he was not distracted. After all, the Hokage of Konoha has been kidnapped, so what does Orochimaru mean? Tsunade walked straight towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru, I didn't expect you to come here too. Orochimaru grinned. Tsunade, it's been a long time no see. Mr. Feng showed me an irresistible temptation. It's you. It's rumored in the ninja world that Uchiha Kaide has killed you, unexpectedly. Although Iwagakure has seen Tsunade helping Uchiha Kaide, they will naturally not spread the word. Onoki was really looking forward to seeing Konoha become the laughingstock of the ninja world. Ignoring Orochimaru's teasing, Tsunade snorted and turned around and walked to Uchiha Kaide. Seeing this, the smile on Orochimaru's face became even bigger. Sarutobi-sensei, you really are becoming more and more useless as you live. Didn't stay with Tsunade and the others for too long. Uchiha Kaide asked Orochimaru to choose a place to build a laboratory, and Yukito was handed over to Uchiha Izumi. The three snake girls were also handed over to Uchiha Izumi. The three snake girls were also very obedient and immediately complimented Izumi Uchiha. After doing all this, Uchiha Kaide came to the Great Elder. Seeing the expectant look on the elder's face, Uchiha Kaide said slowly. The three ships of the Iron Kingdom have been conquered. It is estimated that the Iron Kingdom will be integrated in. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel D handed over to us soon. Quote. During this period, the Hidden Cloud village tried to attack the country of sound, but I killed them all. The second-tailed Jinchuriki was the cat just now. After hearing this, the Great Elder breathed a sigh of relief. As expected of you, I will arrange for my tribe to take over these two countries. Then he mused. But with so many Kumo ninjas dead, there will probably be a huge army coming from Kumo Hidden Village to the Kingdom of Sound. Uchiha Kaide smiled playfully. I'm still waiting for them. In the next 2 days, Uchiha completely took over all the towns in both countries. Hateful. Damn Uchiha Kaide. On the battlefield between Kumogakure and Konoha, the fourth Raikage overturned the table in anger. He just got the news that Uchiha people have taken over the Kingdom of Sound. This means that the missing Yuki and the hundreds of dead ninjas in their village were all done by Uchiha people. At this time, the fourth Raikage wished he could fly to Taki Ninja Village and torture Uchiha Kaide to death. He roared angrily, "Gather 1,000 ninjas and follow me to defeat Taki Ninja Village." Raikage's secretary Mabuyi was shocked and said, "Raikage-sama, please calm down. We are currently at war with Konoha. Once you leave with 1,000 people, Konoha will definitely launch a fierce attack. By then, maybe the place we just occupied will be lost." The fourth Raikage roared, "But I can't watch those Uchiha guys take away Yukido." Mabuyi suddenly looked embarrassed. As her best friend, she was also worried about Yukido. But the overall situation of Union Village is more important. At this time, the fourth Raikage said directly, "No matter what, we can't let go of the Uchiha clan. If word of this gets out, we will definitely become the laughingstock of the ninja world just like Konoha." At this moment, the fourth Raikage's brain full of muscles seemed to have a little brain. He ordered, "Bring all the information on Uchiha Kaide." Azabuyi immediately followed the instructions. Soon, the two of them started researching with a pile of information. After reading this, even the fourth Raikage couldn't help but be surprised. Defeated Hiruzen Sarutobi, conquered the Taki Ninja Village with the Seven Tails by one man, and captured Tsunade alive with only physical skills. Ellipsis. Mabuyi couldn't help but murmured, "This guy is definitely a big disaster." The fourth Raikage also said coldly, "We must nip him in the bud before his power has completely expanded. I don't want to have another Uchiha rise next to me after defeating Konoha." Mabuyi nodded with deep understanding. But he still asked worriedly, "But the battle on Konoha's side?" The fourth Raikage gritted his teeth and said bitterly, "Then stop it first, Jiraiya is not easy to deal with anyway." Mabuyi nodded and began to think quickly about countermeasures. Finally, he said, "Don't Konoha hate Uchiha to the core? Then let's discuss it with that guy Jiraiya. Let's destroy the Uchiha first." The fourth Raikage's eyes widened, "You want me to join forces with Konoha?" Mabuyi explained, "Uchiha Kaide is difficult to deal with. We can't get into a hard fight with them, otherwise we will give Konoha a chance to breathe. Let's join forces with them to deal with the Uchiha first, and then we can continue our attack on Konoha without being affected at all." Fourth Raikage sitting on the chair boredly, what he hates most is Konoha. But what Mabuyi said makes sense. Ellipsis. Finally, he almost squeezed out a sentence through his teeth. "Then do what you want. Destroy the Uchiha first." After receiving a response, Mabuyi turned around and went to make arrangements. Soon, the letter of truce reached the Konoha camp. Jiraiya held the letter and frowned deeply. "Cloud Hidden Village wants to join forces with us to destroy Uchiha." Ellipsis. Jiraiya threw the letter on the table, held his forehead and began to think. He didn't know whether this was a conspiracy by the Hidden Cloud Village, or whether Uchiha had done something to anger the Hidden Cloud Village. There was no other way. Uchiha Kaide directly killed the Kumo ninja in the Land of Sound. The news of the disappearance of the two-tailed Jinchuriki is still known only to Kumo Hidden Village. But to be honest, Jiraiya was very moved by the proposal in the letter. Tsunade is now in the hands of Uchiha Kaide. He was worried about his sweetheart. If the crisis in Konoha hadn't been too important, he would have wanted to rush into Taki Ninja Village to rescue Tsunade. And there is Naruto, he is the son of his beloved disciple Minato, and he is also the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Now, he was inexplicably bewitched by Uchiha Kaide, so much so that he released the nine tails and hit Konoha hard. He definitely couldn't sit idly by and watch. After thinking for a long time, Jiraiya made a decision. No matter what, this is an opportunity. If this is Union Village's conspiracy, then he will just use it to his advantage. If Kumogakure really wanted to deal with Uchiha, then he would have just destroyed Konoha's biggest threat and also rescued Tsunade. Thinking of this, he immediately called in a ninja. Monitor the movements of Union Village with all your strength, and notify me immediately if there is anything unusual. After the ninja left, Jiraiya took out his pen and began to reply. It's okay to join forces to destroy the Uchiha, but we must be no more than 2 kilometers apart, and Kumogakure must withdraw from the Fire Country afterwards. Soon, the reply arrived in the hands of the 4th Raikage. After reading it, the 4th Raikage suddenly laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, I know Konoha also wants to destroy Uchiha." Mabuyi took the letter, took a look at it, and said with a smile, "Jiraiya is quite cautious." The 4th Raikage said proudly, "He has to be cautious. It's not time for the 3rd war in Konoha now. Unless they produce another 4th generation, it will be good to survive for a while." Then he waved his hand and ordered, "Prepare the army, we attack Taki Ninja Village." Regarding Jiraiya's proposal at the end of the letter, to withdraw from Konoha after defeating the Uchiha, the 4th Raikage didn't even bother to look at it. Would he leave such a fertile land in the Fire Country? Just kidding. The two sides temporarily reached a consensus, so the two armies were separated by 2 kilometers from each other and began to attack Taki Ninja Village from the Kingdom of Sound. At the same time, after several days of planning, Midogate finally started to implement his plan. Kaharu was left alone in Konoha. Under the protection of more than a dozen Junin, he rushed to the battlefield of Sunagakure Village. After arriving at the battlefield, after a series of operations by Mito Kadobu, he, Danzo, Keisuke Rasa and Chio sat at a table. Luo Sha and Chio looked unhappy, as if they had encountered something very disgusting. Danzo, on the other hand, had his eyes closed and looked at ease. Before he came, he had already heard Mito Kadobu explain his plan. Although that plan was a failure and would bring shame to Konoha and even the Fire Nation, it didn't matter. This just bought him time. After his plan is completed, he can easily regain his face. Luo Sha asked impatiently, "Tell me, why did you have to call us here?" Mito Kadoyan said with a smile on his face, "You two should have received the order from your country's daimyo before you came, right?" Luo Sha and Chio's lips twitched. This was exactly the reason for their displeasure. That stupid name from the Kingdom of Wind actually gave them an order to withdraw their troops and directly stop the supply of military funds. If they don't follow the order, the daimyo will cut off their funding for the next 3 years. Obviously this is the best development opportunity for the Kingdom of Wind. The smile on Mito Kadoba's face became even wider. "You two probably don't know the reason why your country's daimyo withdrew their troops, right?" Luo Sha had a sullen face. "Stop being so pretentious, just say it if you have it." Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's Novel, Hing to Say. Mito Kabuto explained with a smile. "Actually, the daimyo of our country has contacted the daimyo of your country before. We are willing to give away 20 kilometers of land to the Kingdom of Wind, and we only want the Kingdom of Wind to reach an alliance treaty with us." Hearing this, Luo Sha felt even more angry towards the daimyo. That short-sighted guy actually got into trouble with such a small profit. He then said sternly, "He promised you to withdraw the troops, but we haven't even nodded yet. The war is not over yet. I will take those lands with my own hands." With that said, Luo Sha stood up and was about to leave. Mito Menon shook his head and said leisurely, "Master Keisuke, please listen to me first. Even if you get that land, or even more, what happens next? Later, you will be bordering the Earth Kingdom, and the fighting power of your village, tisk tisk. Although this is a bit embarrassing, I still have to say that the combat power of Sunagakure Village at this time is probably the last among the 5 great ninja villages, right? Do you think Iwagakure Village, which gets more land, will let you go?" Luo Sha's body froze. Mito Monahan is right. They have been continuously cut by the daimyo of the Land of Wind, and now the strength of the village is no longer what it used to be. Look at the Iwagakure village facing off against the former Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. They are almost unstoppable. As for Union Village, after eating several turtles from Jiraiya's hands, they are now able to overpower Jiraiya. Only they, facing Danzo who avoided fighting, their progress was still extremely slow. This can already reflect a lot of things. Not to mention their high-level combat capabilities. The Chiyo siblings are old and the Jinchuriki are still young. Now only Rasa can support the scene. In Iwagakure village, there is Onoki, his son Wangtu, and 2 Jinchuriki in their prime. If they encounter the current Union village, they will definitely lose. Looking at the 2 people who were frozen, Mito Kadoyan struck while the iron was hot. So alliance with us is the most advantageous way now, not to mention you can still get a large piece of land. You help us resist Iwagakure village, and we can also help you defend the land, even the river country that was destroyed by you before. Hearing this, Luo Sha sat down again. His face was full of tangles. This was their best chance to destroy Konoha. However, compared to Union Village and Union Village, their strength is far inferior. At this time, 2 elders. A Junin from Konoha walked in, handed Mito Kaden and Danzo a letter, and then left quickly. When Mito Menyon opened it, his eyes were filled with surprises. Ha 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 ha. Kazekage-sama, please come and read this letter too. Mito Kadenyan enthusiastically pushed the decrypted letter to Rasa and Chiyo. Luo Sha and Chiyo picked it up and took a look, and their expressions changed instantly. The above briefly describes Jiraiya and Kumogakure village joining forces to attack Taki Ninja village. Luo Sha and Chiyo looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. Those reckless people in Union village actually reconciled with Konoha. Mito Kadoyan looked directly at the 2 of them. The war in Kumogakure village has ceased. What are you waiting for? Shall we wait until we destroy the rebellious Uchiha group and then drive you completely back to the Kingdom of Wind? Rasa and Chiyo were completely silent. This kind of lie can be exposed as soon as it is exposed. They believe that Mito Menyon will not fake it. For a long time, Luo Sha closed her eyes as if she was exhausted. Let's talk about our alliance. Mito Menyon smiled, very happily. This letter was his handwriting, he just erased Jiraiya's worries in it. Chiyo looked deeply at Mito Menyon, but ultimately did not speak. As old foxes who have lived for decades, they can all see that this is just a stopgap measure for Union Village. After Uchiha is dealt with, Kumogakure will still take action against Konoha. Chiyo just wants to give himself and the village a step down. After all, their Sunagakure village is indeed too weak now. If they can get actual benefits, it will be a worthwhile trip. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Inside Taki Ninja village. Jiraiya actually joined forces with the trash from Hidden Cloud village. Uchiha Kaide sneered and threw the information on the table. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others must now think that they can definitely eliminate us, traitors, right? Uchiha Kaide raised the corners of his mouth. He just wanted to give Konoha a big surprise. And that Union Village, since he has delivered it to his door, he won't be polite. I just took the opportunity to recover the 8 tails. Recall Naoto and the others. Good. The Great Elder nodded and immediately sent someone to contact Naoto. Uchiha Kaide then looked towards Tsunade and Orochimaru. If you're facing off against Jiraiya, an old teammate, you won't be able to make a move, right? Tsunade was indifferent, she just wanted to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others. If Jiraiya stands in front, she will not show mercy. Orochimaru smiled solemnly, that idiot Jiraiya, I didn't expect that he still has the idea of changing Konoha. Ideographic period. Quote. It just so happens that we haven't played against each other for a long time. Uchiha Kaide smiled but said nothing. Tsunade believes that she taught him it after all, but Orochimaru is not sure. There is also a lot of passion between this guy and Jiraiya. Although he won't betray others, he will definitely show mercy. But speaking of him now, he seems to be in no position to show mercy to Jiraiya in sage mode. Ellipsis ellipsis. Uchiha Kaide smiled and said, "Okay, then Jiraiya will be left to you too. Now he no longer needs anyone to come forward in person. Otherwise, why would he establish this power? He hasn't paid any attention to the mere cloud-hidden village and Jiraiya." Soon, Uchiha Kaide arranged everything. In the Kingdom of Sound, Konoha cooperated with Cloud-Hidden Village and quickly occupied all the towns. The clansmen who received the news about Uchiha Kaide retreated directly to wait for Uchiha Kaide's arrival. As a result, the momentum was overwhelming, and the morale of the ninjas in Konoha and Cloud-Hidden Village was high. In their opinion, Uchiha will definitely die this time. Until they waited for Uchiha Kaide. The Kingdom of Sound was extremely close to the border, and the armies of both sides met. There are nearly 7,000 people in Konoha and Cloud-Hidden Village, even after the war. As for Uchiha Kaide, apart from the 700 people from Taki Ninja Village and Uchiha, there are also the samurai from the Kingdom of Iron. Kaide Uchiha gave an order, and Mifune gathered the domestic samurai with Chunin strength and above, a total of 3,000. Although it seemed that Uchiha Kaide's side was outnumbered, no one thought they would lose. Because they only have Uchiha Kaide. Seeing the true master, the fourth Raikage couldn't help but stepped forward and angrily said, "Uchiha Kaide, did you kill those people in our village? What about Yukito? Where did you take him?" Jiraiya looked at the fourth Raikage in surprise. Only now did he realize that Uchiha Kaide had angered this reckless man like this. Kaide Uchiha looked at the fourth Raikage with a faint smile. "You mean those 200 or so wastes? Did you see the 9 deep pits on the border of the Kingdom of Sound when you came here? They are inside. If you want to see them, I can send you to see them at any time." The fourth Raikage suddenly became furious. "Damn Uchiha." Uchiha Kaide raised the kitten in her arms again. "As for Yumu Ren, isn't he here?" The familiar appearance of the second tail was recognized by the fourth Raikage even if it was shrunk several times. He suddenly became even more angry. Yumu Ren was actually kept as a pet by this guy. This is completely trampling on the dignity of their Union Village. Without waiting for him to give the read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's novel Order to Attack, Jiraiya suddenly stood up. He looked at Uchiha Kaide calmly. "What happened to Tsunade who was captured by you?" "Tsunade." Uchiha Kaide smiled happily. He turned to the crowd and shouted, "Tsunade, your old friend wants to see you." The crowd immediately separated, and Tsunade walked step by step to Uchiha Kaide. Seeing this scene, Jiraiya suddenly felt that something was very wrong. Tsunade was clearly not restrained, but why did it feel like she showed no sign of resistance? But now was not the time for him to be confused. Jiraiya quickly shouted, "Tsunade, are you okay? Uchiha Kaide and the others didn't do anything to you, right?" "It's Jiraiya." Tsunade raised her head and met Jiraiya's eyes. "I'm okay and I feel great now, better than ever." Jiraiya's heart trembled for a moment. Tsunade's behavior was getting worse and worse. Mabuyi among the Cloud Ninja also widened her eyes instantly. Could it be? She is smart and has guessed part of the truth. And the next second, Tsunade's words confirmed her guess. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and said calmly, "Go back, I don't want to fight with an old friend like you." Jiraiya was in a trance and looked at Tsunade in disbelief. What do you mean? Are you going to help Uchiha Kaide deal with us? You are the Hokage." "Naruto." Tsunade sneered, her face full of disdain and anger. At this time, the fourth Raikage finally understood and couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, it seems that your Hokage of Konoha has surrendered to the enemy. He is extremely happy at this moment. I thought that their cloud-hidden village was already embarrassed enough, but I didn't expect that there was still Konoha at the bottom. It's okay for the contemporary Hokage to be captured alive, but now he has surrendered directly to the enemy. If this matter spreads, Konoha is destined to become the biggest laughingstock in the history of the ninja world." Jiraiya's face also turned dark instantly. Even he was filled with anger at this moment. He looked at Uchiha Kaide angrily. Damn it, was it Tsunade you controlled with illusions? Uchiha Kaide's innocent hand spread out. You can't insult my innocence out of thin air. I just wanted Tsunade to recognize herself. Tsunade also said coldly at this time, I have long wanted to avenge my clan for what they did to my clan. But I was too cowardly in the past. Thinking about the stability of Konoha, I swallowed this sigh of relief. But I think you should know very well what those old guys have done over the years. Konoha is no longer what it used to be. Only by overthrowing everything now can we recreate the ideal village. Jiraiya clenched his fist tightly, damn it. At this moment, he hated his own powerlessness. If Uchiha Kaide hadn't captured Tsunade, how could Tsunade have such extreme thoughts? Uchiha Kaide, today I must eradicate this demon like you for the ninja world. Jiraiya roared angrily, and then rushed towards Uchiha Kaide first. His action also became a signal. For a moment, Konoha's ninjas also killed Uchiha Kaide with hatred on their faces. The fourth Raikage snorted, let's go too, that Uchiha Kaide must die in my hands. After saying that, he instantly turned on the Thunder Chakra mode, and then rushed towards Uchiha Kaide. Then, the Cloud Ninjas also launched an attack. Looking at the approaching Jiraiya and the fourth Raikage, Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. Haha, then I will have fun with you. The only person he plays with is the fourth Raikage. As for Jiraiya, your opponent is me. Tsunade stopped directly in front of Jiraiya. The next second, Orochimaru, who was hiding in the crowd, also jumped out. He grinned and looked at Jiraiya, Jiraiya, it's been so long. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Orochimaru you. Jiraiya's eyes widened. He never expected that even Orochimaru would join Uchiha Kaide's camp. Orochimaru smiled solemnly and said, Jiraiya, why don't you come over too? Quote. What is it about that decaying Konoha that deserves your protection? Jiraiya waved his hand in frustration, humph, I won't be like you. Then he looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade, I will definitely rescue you from Uchiha Kaide. Tsunade shook her head, let's talk about it if you can leave alive. She is familiar with Uchiha Kaide's character and knows that from the beginning of this battle, Uchiha Kaide will not let go of any of these people in front of her. But Jiraiya didn't understand what she meant. He looked at Tsunade in disbelief, you want to kill me? At this moment, Orochimaru took action. He licked his lips, Jiraiya, don't talk nonsense anymore, this is war. In an instant, his arms turned into dozens of venomous snakes and attacked Jiraiya. Hateful. Jiraiya cursed secretly and quickly began to concentrate on fighting. Afterwards, they fought Orochimaru twice, and Tsunade also came to kill him. Jiraiya, who had not activated the Sage mode, instantly fell into an absolute disadvantage. The other side. Facing the fourth Raikage who activated the Thunder Escape Chakra mode, Uchiha Kaide didn't even let go of Yukido in his arms. Raising his arm, he easily blocked the heavy iron fist thrown by the fourth Raikage. Uchiha Kaide smiled sarcastically, the speed is good, but the fists are too weak. Asshole. The insulted fourth Raikage suddenly became furious. Thunder bombs. The fourth Raikage jumped up high and kicked Uchiha Kaide hard again. But the next moment, Kaide Uchiha disappeared in front of him in an instant and appeared directly behind him. Get out. The same kick directly slammed the fourth Raikage to the ground. Then Uchiha Kaide floated to the ground holding Yukido. Is that all there is to it? You're not good at physical skills either. The fourth Raikage put one hand on the ground and jumped up from the pit in an instant. Hateful. Don't be too arrogant. As he spoke, he looked up to the sky and roared, Thunder Dun's strongest armor. In an instant, lightning surged around him, and even his hair stood on end. Then he rushed towards Uchiha Kaide in a flash. Uchiha Kaide narrowed his eyes. At this time, the speed of the fourth Raikage actually caused an afterimage to appear in his eyes. You must know that he has activated the Eternal Kaleidoscope at this time. You can imagine how fast the fourth Raikage has reached. It is indeed the fastest speed in space ability. This is interesting. After sighing in admiration, Uchiha Kaide instantly turned on the Sage mode, and his figure disappeared in the eyes of others like the fourth Raikage. He saw the afterimage, but it didn't mean he couldn't see clearly the movements of the fourth Raikage. Not to mention he has the blessing of immortal mode. Afterwards, the two quickly fought together. The speed is so fast that ninjas in the distance can only see the light and shadow produced by the slamming. The Cloud ninjas were a little unbelievable. That guy can actually keep up with Raikage-sama's speed. He's so strong, no wonder he was able to capture Yukito-sama. We have no right to intervene in such a battle. Why do I feel like we are going to lose? It seems that what Uchiha is best at is not taijutsu. Asshole. You must believe in Raikage-sama. The fourth Raikage didn't know what the Kumo ninjas were talking about. At this time, he was also deeply shocked by Uchiha Kaide. This guy hasn't tried his best yet. During the fierce battle with him, Uchiha Kaide never let go of Yukito in his arms. This made the fourth Raikage, who was extremely proud of his heart, very unacceptable. But he had already used all his strength and could only feel helpless and furious in his heart. Another confrontation, Uchiha Kaide grabbed the arm of the fourth Raikage. Kaleidoscope instantly conference. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Raunts the fourth Raikage. It seems your limit is here. In an instant, the fourth Raikage felt like the world was spinning. Damn it, I actually fell under the illusion of a mere Sharingan. In a confrontation of this level, any mistake would result in defeat. Not long after he was unconscious, the fourth Raikage was awakened by a burst of severe pain. He opened his eyes, only to find that every bone in his right arm had been broken by Kaide Uchiha, and it was hanging down on his body. Covering his arms, the fourth Raikage was suddenly sweating profusely. Kaide Uchiha looked at him coldly. If it's only to this extent, then go die. Kyoka Suigetsu took out her sheath and slashed the fourth Raikage's neck with her sword. To deal with this guy, he doesn't even need to release Shiji ideographic period. The fourth Raikage was so frightened that he jumped back and started to dodge. But the severe pain in his right arm slowed him down. After just a few moments of dodging, Kaide Uchiha's sword was close to his neck. Shout, brother, Uncle Kurabi is here. At this moment, a strange voice sounded. Then Uchiha Kaide's sword was blocked instantly, and at the same time, another sword also stabbed his neck. Kaide Uchiha jumped back and found that Kurabi was coming to support him. Kurabi glanced at the fourth Raikage's right arm, and then exclaimed exaggeratedly. Bastard Uchiha Kaide is awesome, poor big brother became one-armed, stupid bastard ... The fourth Raikage's head was instantly filled with black lines. If he hadn't been fighting, he would have wanted to punch Kurabi hard. Baga, this is fighting, get serious. Kurabi then looked at Uchiha Kaide, glanced at Yukito in Uchiha Kaide's arms, and shouted exaggeratedly. The beautiful Yuki turned into a cat, the beautiful figure became a thing of the past, stupid bastard ... Uchiha Kaide's face turned cold, you have such a redundant mouth. Ideographic period. Quote. It seems that before I can capture you, I have to cut out your tongue first. Seeing this, Kurabi was already playing with his rap without thinking about life and death. Get over here, you stupid bastard ... Whoosh. The next moment, Uchiha Kaide's figure instantly appeared in front of him. It's really fast. Hilabi was shocked. He no longer had the previous arrogance. He quickly placed the two swords across his chest and was able to block Kaide Uchiha's blow. Thunder Torture level Chiomai. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the fourth Raikage quickly waved his hand that was not disabled and slashed at Uchiha Kaide. He and Kurabi have been training for many years and have already developed a superhuman understanding. However, in the next moment, Uchiha Kaide disappeared from the spot again, and the fourth Raikage's attack was directly missed. Kurabi, who had relieved the crisis, shook his shoulders, and 5 more swords appeared in the air. Then he suddenly jumped up and caught the 5 swords with an incredible posture. Superior. The 4th Raikage gave the order, and the 2 of them killed Uchiha Kaide, who had just appeared in the distance at the same time. Then I'll play with you for a while longer. Overjoyed to see Hunting Heart, Uchiha Kaide met the 2 of them head-on. The swordsmanship was used to the extreme, and in the fight against the Strange, while competing with the 7 swordsman style, he also instantly suppressed the 4th Raikage. No matter how strange the angle of Kurabi's attack is, he can perfectly catch it and launch a counterattack. The other hand that was not holding the sword blocked the 4th Raikage's heavy blows again and again. After being strengthened by Bengyu so many times, Uchiha Kaide had a feeling of excitement that he hadn't seen in a long time. Even though it was just physical skills, it also made him quite excited. The confrontation lasted for several minutes, and Uchiha Kaide had already switched from the defensive side to the offensive side. Until Uchiha Kaide's fierce attack, one of Kurabi's swords, broke. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. The other side. Jiraiya, who was forced into desperate situations by Tsunade and Orochimaru several times, finally couldn't help but use the Sage Mode. Jumping far away from the battlefield, Jiraiya quickly began to form seals. Psychic Art. Immediately, Gamabunta and the 2 great immortals from Miaomu Mountain were channeled by him. Shima looked at the battlefield and couldn't help but ask, "Hey, little Jiraiya, where is this place? Isn't the opponent the Hidden Cloud Village?" Jiraiya said in a deep voice, "This time, our opponents are Tsunade and Orochimaru." Shima and Fukasaku were shocked at the same time. Tsunade. They knew Orochimaru had defected to Konoha and there was no problem fighting him. But what happened to Tsunade? Didn't she serve as the 5th Hokage of Konoha? Fukasaku couldn't help but said in surprise, "Jiraiya, has your kid defected?" Jiraiya rolled his eyes. "Tsunade was bewitched by the Uchiha guys, I want to save her." "Stop talking now, they have already attacked." In the distance, Tsunade and Orochimaru also immediately channeled slugs and 10,000 snakes. This time one snake was very honest, because it saw the great power exerted by Uchiha Kaide. Orochimaru has now taken refuge in Uchiha Kaide, and is no longer someone he can't afford to offend. Speaking of which, it even has Orochimaru to thank. If Orochimaru hadn't channeled it from Ruchi Cave and raised it in Takanen village, it would have disappeared with Ruchi Cave. Then, Tsunade and Orochimaru stepped on the heads of Slug and 10,000 snakes respectively, and directly attacked Jiraiya. Jiraiya said hurriedly, "Taiwan, help me stop it for a while. 2 immortals, please help me enter immortal mode." Fukasaku and Shima didn't dare to be careless and quickly jumped on Jiraiya's shoulders. Jiraiya clasped his hands together and began to prepare to enter Sage Mode. During this period, the only things he could use were his feet. Boom. Slug 10,000 Snake Bunta, 3 huge psychic beasts collided together, and the earth began to tremble for a moment. And Tsunade and Orochimaru also killed Jiraiya above Bunta's head. At the moment when the attack came, Jiraiya suddenly jumped up with the soles of his feet and patted it several times. Then he flicked his hair and said, "Ninjutsu, Needle Jizo." Suddenly, his hair stabbed Tsunade and Orochimaru like steel needles. After Orochimaru dodged, he couldn't help but lick his lips. "Make seals with your feet. Jiraiya, you idiot, you are really capable." Tsunade narrowed her eyes and looked at Jiraiya in surprise. "Are you entering fairy mode?" Orochimaru was shocked and suddenly couldn't believe it. What he couldn't even learn, Jiraiya, an idiot, could actually do it. Jiraiya suddenly laughed boldly and said, "Haha, you didn't expect me to hide this trick, right?" At this moment, it seemed that they were not fighting, but a long-lost chat between old friends. But this is war after all. Seeing his arrogance, Tsunade couldn't help but sneered. "Don't be too proud, you are not the only one who can master the immortal mode." As she said that, she immediately clasped her hands together. Yin seal. Solved. A lotus-shaped mark suddenly appeared on her forehead, and her eyes were covered with golden eye shadow. Although Tsunade did not fully master the Sage mode with the help of Uchiha Kaide, she was able to seal a lot of natural energy with her yin sealing ability and Uchiha Kaide's help. These natural energies are enough for her to carry out a high-intensity battle for half an hour. What? At this moment, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were shocked at the same time, feeling sour in their hearts. Jiraiya was jealous because Tsunade easily entered Sage mode. Both of his old teammates have Immortal mode, but he, the most talented one, does not. At this moment, Orochimaru felt a sense of frustration for the first time. I won't show any mercy. At this time, tease. Read more novels by visiting our website. Knight's novel Unaid roared and then rushed directly towards Jiraiya. How merciless. Jiraiya was startled and started to turn around and run away. It will take some time for him to enter his immortal mode. It seems you can't do it either. Uchiha Kaide looked at Kurabi in front of him with some regret. Ever since Kurabi broke his sword, his offensive power has dropped a lot in an instant. In several subsequent confrontations, 3 more of his swords were cut off by Kaide Uchiha. Now Kurabi only has 3 swords in his hands and mouth. Behind Uchiha Kaide, the 4th Raikage was also panting violently. Hitting Uchiha Kaide's brute force again and again, his physical strength was also greatly depleted. Stupid bastard, don't be so cute. Kurabi simply put away the remaining 3 swords, and then his whole body was instantly wrapped in red chakra. Not interesting. Uchiha Kaide shook his head. Since there is no need to compete in physical skills, there is no need for him to play with them. Jinghua Shuiyu was slowly lifted up by him. I will finish you off in an instant. Brother. Kurabi ignored Uchiha Kaide's contempt and roared at the 4th Raikage. Oh. The 4th Raikage understood instantly. Absolutely awesome thunder plow and hot knife. Then, the 2 figures disappeared instantly, and attacked Uchiha Kaide in the middle with a pincer attack. The next moment, Uchiha Kaide's neck was locked tightly with their arms, and his head and body were separated instantly. Something's wrong. The 4th generation Raikage's pupils shrank. How could Kaide Uchiha fall so easily? But there is nothing wrong with the touch of the arm. By now. However, before he could raise any questions, Uchiha Kaide's murderous voice sounded in his ears. At the same time, the body with its body and head separated instantly turned into a shadow and disappeared. The 4th Raikage was about to resist, but in the next moment, Kyoka Suigetsu pierced his chest. His thunder armor, which is said to be absolutely defensive, is like paper. Natural energy poured into the 4th Raikage's body, destroying all his internal organs in an instant. Damn it, you have to die. The 4th Raikage glanced at Kaide Uchiha resentfully, and then his vision went dark. Uchiha Kaide withdrew the mirror with disdain, and then stepped on it. The 4th Raikage's head was like a watermelon, exploding instantly. Brother. Seeing this scene, Kurabi cried out in grief and anger. Shaoba, lend me all your power. With a roar, the 8 tails in the body immediately cooperated. In just a short moment, Kurabi entered a complete state. Go to hell. Waving his fist, the 8-tailed Kurabi jumped up high and hit Uchiha Kaide. However, the next second, the 3rd stage of Susanoo appeared instantly. Stretching out his arm, 8-tail's fist was firmly grasped. Kaide Uchiha smiled lightly and said, Don't get excited, you will be able to accompany him soon. As he spoke, the Budo Soul sword on Susanoo's waist was instantly unsheathed. With one slash of the sword, the 8-tail's arm suddenly detached from the body. Roar tilde damn it. Kurabi screamed in pain, raised his head and began to condense the tailed beast jade. Uchiha Kaide shook his head, I'm tired of seeing this trick. Susanoo changes again. There is no need to enter the ultimate body. The 4th stage of growing legs is enough to rival the 8 tails. Susanoo grabbed the tailed beast jade that had not yet been condensed, and at the same time locked the 8 tails open mouth with his other hand. Then he directly stuffed the tailed beast jade into the 8-tailed mouth and closed its mouth tightly. Boom. The tailed beast jade exploded directly in the eight-tailed mouth, blowing up half of its face. Kurabi, who felt the pain connected to the eight tails, instantly saw stars in his eyes. Then, Susanoo slapped the eight tails on the head again. Seal. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. The sealing technique is activated. In an instant, there was no movement from the eight tails, who looked up to the sky and cried out in pain. Then its body quickly began to liquefy, turning into a large ball of chakra in the blink of an eye, and then compressed crazily inward. Soon, Kurabi returned to his original appearance. At this time, Kurabi had completely passed out, and the seal on his body had permanently lost his ability to resist. Uchiha Kaide raised the corner of his mouth. The eight tails capture is complete. Then, the fourth stage of Susanoo began to slowly dissipate. The fourth Raikage died, and Kurabi, who turned into a tailed beast, was quickly beaten back to his original form. This scene instantly made the Cloud Ninjas feel at a loss. Liar, liar, right, Raikage-sama and Kurabi-sama lost. Damn it, I saw the body of Raikage-sama, his head had been. Raikage-sama is dead, we can't win, we absolutely can't. At this moment, the mentality of the Cloud Ninjas began to collapse rapidly. There was no way, after all, the fourth generation Raikage who was like a god in their hearts was dead, so how could they stop Uchiha Kaide? Run! I don't know which Cloud Ninja shouted, and the entire Cloud Ninja army began to collapse quickly. They no longer paid attention to the fight, and the fear made them choose to turn around and run away. Seeing this, how could Mifune and Naoto let go of this opportunity? Chase. After giving the order, Uchiha Kaide began to frantically pursue the unresistant Kumo ninja. When the ninjas in Konoha next to them saw this, they were also on the verge of collapse. Although their Lord Jiraiya is still fighting, no one can stop Kaide Uchiha. Can Lord Jiraiya defeat Kaide Uchiha? No one would have such a ridiculous idea. After all, Uchiha Kaide has demonstrated his unrivaled strength many times. A bunch of fish. Uchiha Kaide glanced disdainfully. Immediately, he set his sights on Tsunade. At this time, Tsunade and Jiraiya were having a peak duel. Both of them were in Sage mode, and their strength, speed, and chakra intensity had been greatly improved. This shows that Orochimaru is useless and can only assist Tsunade from the side. In the midst of the battle, Jiraiya took the time to glance at several other battlefields. Then his pupils shrank in shock. The fourth Raikage is dead. The eight tails Jinchuriki was also subdued. Looking at the fleeing Cloud Ninja and Konoha Ninja, Jiraiya had no intention of complaining. Because at this time he knew that it was time for him to leave. After all, after turning on the Sage mode, he could only suppress the combined efforts of the fourth Raikage and Kurabi. It was impossible to kill the two of them so quickly. But Uchiha Kaide did it. If he were to kill him and cooperate with Tsunade and Orochimaru, he would be defeated instantly. Thinking of this, Jiraiya suddenly lost the will to continue fighting. He looked deeply at Tsunade, and then shouted to the two immortals on his shoulders. Two immortals, use that trick, it's time for us to go. Fukasaku and Shima didn't dare to be careless, and instantly jumped up from Jiraiya's shoulders. The two took a deep breath at the same time, and then aimed at Tsunade and Orochimaru. Immortal magic. Croaking frog. A sound wave visible to the naked eye instantly enveloped the two Tsunade and the psychic beast at their feet. Well, Tsunade and Orochimaru looked in pain, and their bodies instantly became stiff and unable to move. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jiraiya jumped into Bunta's mouth without hesitation. Go quickly. With a command, Bunta instantly lifted the psychic spell and turned into a cloud of smoke and returned to Miamu Mountain. Uchiha Kaide in the distance curled his lips. He ran pretty fast. However, the moment Bunta left, he also successfully captured the spatial location of Mount Myoboku. Just in time, the sacred tree has finished devouring the Na. Read more novels by visiting our website, Knight's novel Turl energy of Longi Cave at this time, and it is time to change places. The figure disappeared, and Uchiha Kaide instantly appeared next to Tsunade. Tsunade said expressionlessly, "Let him run away." Orochimaru sneered, standing aside and not daring to say a word. Uchiha Kaide smiled slightly, "It doesn't matter, I just want him to live a few more days." Ideographic period. Quote. Immediately issue an order. Let's go. Help Mifune and the others completely defeat Kumogakure and Konoha. Tsunade and Orochimaru nodded and immediately followed Uchiha Kaide towards the fleeing ninjas. This side of Union Village. After paying the lives of thousands of ninjas, they finally escaped from the Kingdom of Sound. Only then did their fear ease, and some even sat down on the ground and gasped violently. Finally, survived. But really smart people are still vigilant at this time, such as Mabui ideographic period. She quickly found Darui, the bodyguard of the 4th Raikage. Darui, use your prestige immediately to get all Kumo ninjas to return to Kumogakure village. Looking at Mabui with a serious face, Darui asked at a loss. Isn't it? We have already left the land of sound, and those Uchiha have no intention of chasing us. Mabui has a headache. What she fears most is trying to reason with these guys who have all the muscles in their heads. But for the sake of Union Village, she still persuaded her earnestly. Now that the 4th Raikage is dead, we don't have a leader to lead the ninjas. Once the Uchiha catch up, we will still have to pay casualties to escape. So the most important thing right now is to return to Cloud Hidden Village to choose a new Raikage. We have become enemies with Uchiha, and you have seen the power of Uchiha Kaide. Only by gathering the strength of the whole village can we protect the village. Otherwise, Union Village may disappear at any time. Hearing the last sentence, Darui's heart trembled suddenly. The idea of revenge for the 4th Raikage that was originally mentioned disappeared in an instant. Yes, compared to the survival of the entire village, these hatreds must be put aside for the time being. Only by protecting Union Village can they have a chance to take revenge. Not daring to hesitate any longer, Darui immediately asked his confidants to issue an order to the entire army to return to Union Village. And those Kumo ninjas who had been frightened out of their wits did not have the slightest idea of resistance. They even wished they would never see Uchiha Kaide again. It's actually stable. It seems that there are still capable people in Union Village. At this moment, a voice that sounded like a nightmare to everyone sounded. When they looked up, the man's figure appeared in the sky. Uchiha Kaide is coming. Damn, it's so fast. Mabui secretly resented it, and then shouted without any hesitation. Run as fast as you can. Return to Cloud Hidden Village. Feeling the overwhelming pressure on Uchiha Kaide, no Kumo ninja could even think of resisting. In an instant, every Cloud ninja ran away towards the Kingdom of Thunder as fast as they could in their life. Uchiha Kaide looked down indifferently. I really can't even think of taking any action against you bunch of bastards. He reached out and knocked the little kitten in his arms on the head, and Erwei's consciousness was instantly awakened. Without any explanation, Uchiha Kaide threw it directly to the ground. Roar. Erwei understood instantly and showed his true form after roaring. Then Uchiha Kaide shot into the void, psychic art. The next moment, Naneo was also summoned. Uchiha Kaide said lightly, "Kill as much as you like." Nodding, Naneo and Erwei immediately looked at the fleeing Cloud ninja with murderous intent. After being held captive by ninjas as weapons for so many years, how could they not have hatred in their hearts? Without any pause, the two-tailed beasts instantly charged towards the group of Cloud ninjas. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis.